Chapter 147. Let me taste the sweetness, then give me a fatal blow. Yang Ming saw that they were increasing like this. He didn't know how long it would take to reach 100 yuan. He simply said boldly, 10 yuan is too little. How about 100 yuan? Wang Jitao and the others were stunned after listening to Yang Ming's words, but then they were delighted. It seemed that this guy had won too much. He thought that the god of fortune had arrived today. After winning a few rounds, he didn't know what was going on. However, this was exactly what Wang Jitao wanted. He originally wanted to increase it to 100 yuan after a few more rounds. He didn't expect Yang Ming to say it first. Okay, we will do as you say. 100 is 100. Chen Afu was afraid that Yang Ming would regret, so he said quickly. But after he finished speaking, he felt that it wasn't right. How could he represent the others? So he asked hypocritically, class monitor, you guys have no problem, right? I don't mind. Since everyone is in a good mood, then let's play to our heart's content. Wang Jitao smiled and nodded. Yang Ming, what are you doing? Chen Mengyan and Zhao Sisi fished for a long time, but they didn't have any harvest, so they didn't plan to fish anymore. Zhang Bin was also very bored, so the three of them came to find Yang Ming together. Chen Mengyan saw a stack of banknotes in front of Yang Ming. She was a little unhappy. Are you guys gambling? Just playing. Yang Ming was a little embarrassed. After all, good girls didn't like men who liked to gamble. Especially the man she loved, she didn't want him to be tainted with gambling habits, so Chen Mengyan was unhappy. You can't win money if you play. Chen Mengyan said with concern, Teacher Li is over there. Wang Jitao, you are the class monitor. How can you lead the gambling? Chen Mengyan, it's rare for everyone to come out and play together. We are all very happy. It's normal to play some cards and have some fun. Wang Jitao was afraid that Chen Mengyan would ruin his good thing, so he quickly persuaded, everyone has finished the university entrance exam. It's normal to relax occasionally. Yeah, everyone's happiness is better than anything else, and we are willing to do it. Chen Afu also said. Chen Mengyan looked at Yang Ming. She hesitated, but she didn't say anything in the end. As a woman, Chen Mengyan knew that a man's face was very important. She didn't want to make Yang Ming lose face, so she decided to wait for Yang Ming to finish playing for a while, then she would talk to him about the harm of gambling. Now she could only remind him in a low voice, just play for a while. If you lose, don't play anymore. And I know. You can rest assured. Yang Ming smiled. I am winning. How can I lose? Yang Ming deliberately said this to let Wang Jitao think that he had been blinded by the excitement of winning money. Wang Jitao could hear it, so could Chen Mengyan. She couldn't help but frown slightly and sigh. Jack won and lost very quickly. The outcome could be decided in an instant. In order to make Yang Ming even more crazy, Wang Jitao didn't hesitate to lose a few hundred yuan. Although Yang Ming had been winning money, Yang Ming's technique and judgment were obviously very poor. He was like a rookie who didn't play cards often. In fact, Yang Ming was indeed a rookie. He didn't have to deliberately pretend. Yang Ming could control the overall situation because he was very clear about the other people's cards and the cards on the table. Wang Jitao and Chen Afu had already made an agreement. Whoever got a blackjack would give the others a look. Then, the others would fan the flames and keep increasing the stakes to achieve the purpose of trapping Yang Ming. But how could Yang Ming be so easy to trick? Not to mention that he knew the game like the back of his hand, Yang Ming also knew their thoughts before. Therefore, when Yang Ming saw that they had good cards and he didn't have any, he gave up. When there were similar cards, he would follow a few more rounds. This went back and forth for many rounds. Yang Ming won and lost small amounts of money. Wang Jitao was very anxious. Why didn't Yang Ming follow when he got similar cards? He didn't have any good cards, but Yang Ming bet. It made him very anxious, but he couldn't do anything. Finally, the opportunity that Yang Ming had been waiting for appeared. Wang Jitao also felt that this was his opportunity. It was just that his luck wasn't as good as Yang Ming's. Wang Jitao got a 10 of hearts and an ace of diamonds, while Yang Ming got a 10 of clubs and an ace of clubs. Yang Ming was slightly better, but Wang Jitao didn't know. Wang Jitao signaled to Chen Afu and Enquantao with his eyes. Yang Ming pretended to be a noob and weakly threw in 100 yuan. Yang Ming, do you still want cards? When it was Yang Ming's turn, Wang Jitao asked. I want another one. Yang Ming shook his head. Forget it, I don't want it. That's it. Hearing Yang Ming say so, Wang Jitao was relieved. He naturally thought that Yang Ming had gotten 2 decent cards. He wanted to continue but was afraid that he would lose. I'll add 500 yuan. Chen Afu suddenly threw 500 yuan on the floor. Wang Jitao frowned. You just added 500 yuan. Wouldn't you scare Yang Ming away? He cursed in his heart. Why is this Chen Afu so stubborn? He wants to work in my family's company after graduation. What kind of position can he arrange? This is a difficult problem. 500 yuan. Sure enough, Yang Ming was stunned. He thought to himself, this kid is really willing. However, Yang Ming saw their nervous faces and deliberately wanted to whet their appetite. Yang Ming, are you going to follow? And Quantao couldn't help but ask. Oh my god, I saw the wrong cards. Chen Afu suddenly showed a regretful look. He was stared at by Wang Jitao just now. He regretted his impulsiveness, so he quickly made up for it. Sure enough, Yang Ming heard Chen Afu's words and his eyes lit up. He clenched his teeth and followed with 500 yuan. Chen Mengyan originally wanted to stop Yang Ming, but it was too late. Yang Ming had already thrown the money over. I'll add another 1,000. And Quantao pretended to see Chen Afu's bad look. He wanted to beat a dog when it was down. I'll follow. Bai Yuntao also threw in 1,000 yuan. I don't care. Since everyone is so excited, let's play. Wang Jitao pretended to be relaxed and said, Yang Ming, what about you? Yang Ming thought, of course, I'll follow you. However, he pretended to be hesitant. Yang Ming, don't follow. Isn't this going too far? Chen Mengyan dissuaded him uneasily. I'll follow. Yang Ming thought, little Mengyan, I can only let you be angry first. I'll explain to you later. Wang Jitao thought that Yang Ming decided to follow because he couldn't stand Chen Mengyan's provocation. He was very proud, but he said, Yang Ming, you have to consider carefully. I also think that this is going too far, but everyone is in the mood. I can't say anything. Yang Ming sneered in his heart. You can't say anything. This is your idea. What else do you have to say? Chen Mengyan saw that Yang Ming didn't listen. She was unhappy and frowned. Zhang Bin quickly whispered, Sister-in-law, Yang Ming isn't a gambler. He definitely has his reasons. Zhang Bin's understanding of Yang Ming was much better than Chen Mengyan. Zhang Bin was very clear about what kind of person Yang Ming was. Yang Ming wasn't the kind of person who cared about petty profits, and he wasn't the kind of person who would be hot-headed for money. It could be seen when Yang Ming gambled on Jade in Tingchong. He won Jade on his first try. Logically, if it were someone else, they might continue to gamble day and night. However, Yang Ming didn't seem to care about it. Including the second Jade gambling, Yang Ming controlled the quantity very well. He stopped when it was appropriate and didn't gamble blindly. Therefore, even if you beat Zhang Bin to death, he wouldn't believe that Yang Ming would lose his mind for a few thousand yuan. Wang Jitao and Yang Ming didn't get along well. Zhang Bin also knew, so he also vaguely guessed that Wang Jitao and a few of them seemed to be suspected of cheating Yang Ming. He felt that it was impossible for Yang Ming not to see it, so Yang Ming must have a reason for doing this. Chen Mengyan listened to Zhang Bin's words. The association knew about Yang Ming's usual character. She felt that Yang Ming wasn't an impulsive person, but she still felt uneasy. She also knew Yang Ming's family background. Chen Mengyan was very clear about what a few thousand yuan meant to Yang Ming. Therefore, she didn't want Yang Ming to ruin the money. However, Yang Ming seemed to be crazy. The number of bets had risen to 5,000 in an instant. No one opened their cards, and no one gave up. Everyone was putting in more bets. Seeing that the bets were almost over 10,000 yuan, Chen Mengyan couldn't sit still. She pulled Yang Ming's clothes. "Do you have so much money?" Because the bets had increased, it was impossible to bet cash. No one could have so much money on them, so they added bets in the form of bookkeeping. Right now, the total bets of the entire gambling game had reached more than 50,000 yuan. Chapter 148. It's already more than 50,000 yuan. It should be enough, right? After Yang Ming listened to Chen Mingyan's words, he also felt that it was better to stop this matter when it was appropriate. He didn't want to arouse Wang Jitao's vigilance and cause him to act in desperation. Wang Jitao thought that after Chen Mingyan's reminder, Yang Ming's enthusiasm had cooled down. He said regretfully, "All right, then let's reveal our cards." "I'm sorry, everyone. Thank you for letting us win." Wang Jitao showed the cards in his hand. Chen Afu and Bai Yuntao looked at them and folded. "Damn, this works too. I thought you didn't have any good cards." "Damn, you're pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger. My 3 cards are exactly 21 points, but I didn't beat you." And Quan Tao also put down his cards unhappily. "Yang Ming, why aren't you revealing your cards?" Chen Afu saw that Yang Ming didn't dare to reveal his cards. He thought that he couldn't afford to lose, so he said sarcastically, "You're a real man. If you lose, you lose. If you win, you win. Why are you hesitating? That's right. You should be more responsible." And Quan Tao also agreed. I'm sorry. It seems that my cards are the biggest." Yang Ming revealed the cards in his hand. It was an identical 21 points, damn. Chen Afu was shocked. "You have such a big card. Are you playing with us?" Wang Jitao frowned. This Chen Afu didn't use his brain before speaking. What did he mean by playing with us? You said us, and you said that everyone colluded to make deductions. I couldn't tell. The one who is the best at pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger is actually you, Yang Ming. When Wang Jitao said this, his heart was bleeding. Out of the 50,000 yuan, apart from the 10,000 yuan that Yang Ming bet, he had to pay for the remaining 40,000 yuan. Although his family was rich, he didn't have a lot of pocket money. The 40,000 yuan was his pocket money for a summer vacation, and he just gave it away like that. Yang Ming, you're wrong. You have such a good card. Why were you hesitating at the beginning? And Quan Tao tried to regain some face. I don't really play blackjack. At first, I thought that an ace was a 1, so my hand was an 11. It was very small. I only realized it later. What Yang Ming said seemed to be very reasonable. Many people who just started playing cards would make this mistake. Then why were you so hesitant? You really know how to act. Your cards are so big. What are you still worried about? Chen Afu also said with dissatisfaction. Wang Jitao's. If there was a spade flush with spades, then wouldn't it? Yang Ming said is. Wang Jitao sweated. What Yang Ming said makes sense, but isn't he being too careful? However, there was no other way. Wang Jitao had to suffer a loss and said, I don't have much cash on hand now. You can take the money on the ground. We will give you the rest later. Yang Ming didn't care about the 50,000 yuan. His purpose was to make Wang Jitao unhappy. So, he waved his hand and said, no problem. Don't worry. Wang Jitao knew that if he continued to stay, it would only make things more awkward. So, he left with his underlings. Yang Ming, what happened? After Wang Jitao left, Chen Mengyan sighed and asked coldly, why did you learn to gamble? Don't you know that this habit harms others and yourself? Zhang Bin saw the situation in front of him. He quickly pulled Zhao Cixi and signaled for her to leave with him. What are you doing? Zhao Cixi was dissatisfied with Zhang Bin touching her. She whispered. Didn't you see that the couple had something to talk about? What are we doing here? Zhang Bin said. Zhao Cixi looked at Chen Mengyan and Yang Ming. She felt that Zhang Bin was right, so she went to the side with Zhang Bin. Can't you see? It's obvious that Wang Jitao and that group of people are making deductions. They are going to cheat me. Yang Ming said faintly, Mengyan, don't you know me? To be honest, I was in junior high school for 2 years. What haven't I seen? If I wanted to be addicted to gambling, I would have been addicted a long time ago. I don't need to wait until now. Chen Mengyan listened to Yang Ming's explanation. She was slightly relieved. She was afraid that Yang Ming would be addicted to gambling. She wasn't stupid. After listening to Yang Ming's explanation and the attitude of Wang Jitao and the others, it wasn't difficult to guess what was going on. But she still reminded Yang Ming, I also understand the conflict between you and Wang Jitao. Chen Mengyan blushed. After all, the reason was too obvious. It was because of her. But, if you do this, aren't you intensifying the seriousness of the conflict between you two? Chen Mengyan continued, Wang Jitao will also go to Songjiang Industry University in the future. We are all classmates. It's not good to have such a tense relationship, right? Look at him. He's always thinking about harming me. For example, this time, did I provoke him first? Yang Ming didn't want Wang Jitao to let him go at all. But, he didn't want to let Wang Jitao go. How could Yang Ming let this guy go when he made him so embarrassed before? He won't do it in the future, right? Chen Mengyan whispered, he also knows that you and I are now. It doesn't make sense for him to do this. What's going on between you and me now? Yang Ming knew what Chen Mengyan meant, but he still asked deliberately. Stop it. Why are you asking when you already know the answer? I'm with you. Wang Jitao has no chance. Why would he bother you? Chen Mengyan said. Well, if he doesn't take the initiative to provoke me, then forget it. Yang Ming thought, is it possible that Wang Jitao won't provoke me? The answer is no, so I can't be counted as not keeping my word. Yes, the contradiction between men can't be understood by women. Sometimes, it's just a matter of face. Now, Wang Jitao thought that he lost face. Why can Yang Ming get the beauty, but my condition is much better than Yang Ming's, but not as good as him? Chen Mengyan also understood the meaning of Yang Ming's words, but she felt that after going to university, she could watch Yang Ming every day to avoid some things from happening. Mengyan, let's walk around nearby. Yang Ming picked up the money on the ground and suggested. Okay. Chen Mengyan happily agreed to Yang Ming's request. If it was before the misunderstanding, Chen Mengyan might still hesitate. But now, Chen Mengyan had untied the knot in her heart and was ready to be with Yang Ming wholeheartedly, so she let go. The two people walked on the edge of the reservoir, feeling the burst of cool wind. There was a very comfortable feeling. The wind blew Chen Mengyan's long hair, and it also blew her heart. Every time Chen Mengyan was close to Yang Ming, she felt her heart beat very fast. She didn't know about Yang Ming, but she enjoyed this feeling. Especially when Yang Ming held her hand, this feeling became stronger. Yang Ming wanted to hold Chen Mengyan's hand now, but when he touched Chen Mengyan still refused. After all, Teacher Li was not far away. Chen Mengyan had always had the image of a good student. She didn't want Teacher Li to see it. Chen Mengyan was still shy since she hadn't officially entered university yet. Yang Ming also thought of the conflict, so he whispered, "Mengyan, if Teacher Li knows that we are together, will she be happy?" "Ah. How would I know?" Chen Mengyan blushed and shook her head. "Probably she will feel sorry. I am a bad student, and you are the study committee member." Yang Ming deliberately sighed. "Who said that you are a bad student?" Okay, don't think so much." As Chen Mengyan said this, she took the initiative to hold Yang Ming's hand. Her pair of beautiful eyes glanced at him as if to say, "Are you satisfied now?" "Hee, I haven't finished my words yet. I am a bad student, and you are the study committee member. That was in the past. Later, I was one of the top few in the school year. I was admitted to university and won glory for Teacher Li. How could she still think of me as a bad student?" Yang Ming saw that his plan of playing the pity card worked. He was happy to pinch Chen Mengyan's little hand. "You are so annoying. I don't want to talk to you anymore." Chen Mengyan shook her hand symbolically. She seemed to want to shake off Yang Ming's hand. In fact, her hand was firmly holding Yang Ming's hand. Hee. Yang Ming smiled. Suddenly, he pointed not far ahead and said, "Mengyan, look over there." It's Xiao Cixi and Zhang Bin. How did the two of them? Chen Mengyan also widened her eyes. She said embarrassedly, "The two of them are together." It was no wonder that Chen Mengyan was embarrassed. At this moment, Zhang Bin's hand was on Xiao Cixi's body. Yang Ming also widened his eyes. Isn't this kid too invincible? He got it done so quickly. Chapter 149. Yang Ming thought about how this guy repeatedly ruined the good things between him and Chen Mengyan. He repeatedly said some thoughtless things in front of Chen Mengyan. Now it's my turn to ruin you. Cough cough. Yang Ming exaggeratedly coughed twice and walked over to Zhang Bin. Sure enough, Zhang Bin was shocked. He stood up suddenly and looked around vigilantly. When he saw that it was Yang Ming, he scolded, "Fuck, bro, do you know that people can scare people to death? Is there anyone like you? What's wrong with me?" Not bad. You're already hugging each other so quickly," Yang Ming said with a smirk. Without waiting for Zhang Bin to speak, Xiao Cixi blushed and waved her hand. "There's really nothing between me and her," Zhang Bin said as he winked at Yang Ming. Hee, congratulations, Zhang Bin. But this is also good. We are brothers. Mengyan and Xiao Cixi are good sisters. It will be more convenient for us to go out together in the future. Yang Ming naturally understood Zhang Bin's meaning. Zhang Bin was encouraging him to continue talking. In fact, with Yang Ming's eyesight, he saw what was going on from the beginning. Zhang Bin was actually massaging Xiao Cixi's ankle. Xiao Cixi probably sprained her ankle, and Zhang Bin was helping her to circulate the blood. But Yang Ming also wanted to use this incident to confirm the relationship between Xiao Cixi and Zhang Bin. Many girls were like this. Originally, there was nothing between them and a boy, but they were mistaken by everyone. Over time, they really had something with that boy. Rumors were especially useful in school. Zhao Cixi, you and Zhang Bin are really. Even Chen Mengyan had some doubts. But she also had the same idea as Yang Ming. If Zhao Cixi really had a relationship with Yang Ming's buddy, Zhang Bin, then it would be more convenient for everyone to go out together in the future. Mengyan, don't misunderstand. Actually, I sprained my ankle. Zhang Bin is massaging me. There's really nothing between the two of us. Zhao Cixi explained with a red face. Okay, Zhang Bin, Chen Mengyan and I also walk together like this. How would I not know? Yang Ming deliberately pretended to understand. It would be hypocritical to explain. Sure enough, Zhang Bin secretly gave him a thumbs up. Zhao Cixi couldn't say anything more. Zhao Cixi rested for a while and her ankle didn't hurt anymore, so the four people slowly walked to a crowded place. As for how Zhang Bin and Zhao Cixi would develop next, Yang Ming didn't worry about it. Anyway, he had done what he could, and the rest was up to him. Zhang Bin, do you really like Zhao Cixi? In the evening, in the hotel room, Yang Ming lay on the bed and watched TV while chatting with Zhang Bin. Yang Ming, what do you think of Zhao Cixi? Tell me the truth. Zhang Bin did not answer Yang Ming's question directly, but continued to ask his own question. Zhao Cixi, this girl is not bad. At first glance, you can tell she's a good wife and mother type. Yang Ming commented, to be honest, Zhao Cixi's character is much better than Chen Mingyan's, but I don't like girls who are too weak. Yes, but I like this kind of good wife and mother type. Zhang Bin sighed and said, I didn't tell you before, but I have a good impression of Zhao Cixi. Now that the college entrance examination is over, this feeling is even stronger. I couldn't tell. I thought you were only interested in coquettish women. Yang Ming said sarcastically. Because he really didn't expect Zhang Bin to like Zhao Cixi. Coquettish? You're talking about one-night stands. Yes, I admit, I do like that. Zhang Bin said, but you can't ask me to marry that kind of woman, right? If I marry a fickle wife, won't my dad kill me? That's true. Then Zhao Cixi is very suitable for you. Yang Ming nodded sincerely and said, Zhao Cixi's character is weak. If it was in ancient times, it would be the standard 3 obedience and 4 virtues. After you marry her, you can continue to have a one-night stand. As long as she doesn't catch you on the spot, she won't say anything. Yes, I think so too. Zhang Bin said as he slapped his thigh, Bro, do you think Zhao Cixi and I are possible? Why is this impossible? Aren't you a Casanova? Yang Ming smiled bitterly. This guy is really confused. When he helped me to analyze Chen Mengyan, his theory was a set of theories. When it came to me, it was stuck. Where did Zhao Cixi enroll in college? Yang Ming suddenly thought of a very important question. If Zhao Cixi's thinking went to other places, then what was the point of studying? Of course, I have inquired. Zhao Cixi also enrolled in Songjiang Industry University, but she majored in advertising design. Zhang Bin said. That's just right. In the future, you don't have to worry about the publicity of your company. Yang Ming said with a smile, in this way, I think you are still very confident. You see today, you gave Zhao Cixi an ankle massage. Didn't she not refuse? So you have a chance. What about Chen Afu? Zhang Bin was worried about his rival. Chen Afu. Damn, you are still worried about such a rotten person. Then I have nothing to say. Yang Ming felt that Chen Afu had no competitiveness at all. Then I am relieved. Zhang Bin actually had a lot of confidence in his heart, but after listening to Yang Ming's comfort, his heart felt a little better. At this time, the phone in the room rang. Yang Ming picked it up. Hello. Sir, do you need a massage service? I guarantee that it will be very refreshing. There was a very charming female voice on the phone. We don't want it. Yang Ming hung up the phone directly. What's the matter? Asked Zhang Bin. Recommending a special service. Yang Ming said. Oh. Zhang Bin nodded. Although Zhang Bin didn't reject looking for a prostitute, Xiao Sisi was in the opposite room now. At this time, looking for a prostitute was purely looking for death. Just as he finished speaking, the phone rang again. Yang Ming picked up the phone helplessly. Hello, who are you looking for? Good evening, sir. Do you need a private escort? I guarantee that it will be a female student and a white-collar beauty. This time, it was a very coquettish voice on the phone. We don't need it. Damn, stop calling. Yang Ming hung up the phone in a bad mood. Is it recommending a prostitute again? Zhang Bin smiled. Yeah, AI, staying in a hotel is not peaceful. Yang Ming scolded. Hee, you can unplug the phone line. Zhang Bin smiled. That's a good idea. Yang Ming was about to unplug the phone line, but the phone rang again. Motherfucker, I already said that I don't want a prostitute. Are you motherfuckers done? Yang Ming angrily grabbed the phone and scolded, let me tell you, my girlfriend is gentle and beautiful. I don't need this. Yang Ming. Chen Mingyan's weak voice came from the phone. Yang Ming was stunned, and then asked awkwardly, Mingyan, why is it you? That. I missed you, so I called you. What were you saying? Chen Mingyan just listened to Yang Ming's complaints, and her heart was as sweet as eating honey. Especially when he later said that his girlfriend was gentle and beautiful, it made Chen Mingyan even more happy. So her heart was tender, and she never said words of love to Yang Ming. In fact, there was a reason why Chen Mingyan called Yang Ming. She just received a call, and the other party recommended a massage service to her. Chen Mingyan was not a child, so she naturally knew what the massage service in the hotel meant. After she rejected it, the other party saw that Chen Mingyan was a woman, so they stopped calling. But Chen Mingyan's heart began to feel uneasy. Since the other party could call her, they would definitely call Yang Ming and the others. Chen Mingyan was more and more worried. Yang Ming and Zhang Bin were young men. What if they couldn't resist the temptation? So Chen Mingyan decided to call Yang Ming. At least warn him. The hotel's internal phone directly dialed the room number, so Chen Mingyan dialed it. Sorry, Mingyan. I didn't know it was you. Yang Ming was a little embarrassed. He blamed himself for not hearing clearly and scolded her. He didn't know that because of his scolding, Chen Mingyan's heart was filled with tenderness. There were 2 harassing calls before, it's okay, but don't scold people in the future. Chen Mingyan naturally knew what was going on. I know. What are you doing? Yang Ming asked casually. Xiao Sisi is taking a shower. I'm lying in bed watching TV. What about you? Chen Mingyan asked. Zhang Bin and I are discussing his marriage. Yang Ming smiled and said, Mingyan, I guess Xiao Sisi will also look for you to discuss Zhang Bin's problem in a while. And I was wondering why I felt that Xiao Sisi was always hesitating. It turned out to be because of this. Chen Mingyan nodded. You can rest assured. I will tell you the situation tomorrow. Okay, Xiao Sisi is out. I will take a shower first. And, goodbye. Yang Ming hung up the phone. Zhang Bin heard Yang Ming mention Xiao Sisi, so he looked at Yang Ming with expectation. Chapter 150. Yang Ming smiled and told the content of the phone call to Zhang Bin. Zhang Bin secretly thought that he was lucky that he didn't encourage Yang Ming to find a prostitute. Otherwise, if Xiao Sisi knew about it, he would be finished. Yang Ming and Chen Mingyan's relationship was already set. It would probably be fine after some coaxing. However, it was different for Yang Ming. He and Xiao Sisi had not even started dating yet. If this happened, then he would be completely eliminated. Chen Afu was a psychopath. When he was young, on a stormy night, Chen Afu wore a white raincoat to deliver an umbrella to his mother's factory. Because of his small size, he ran fast. He was like a white shadow running around. As a result, an old lady who went to pick up her grandson saw Chen Afu. She thought she saw a ghost, so she shouted, "Ghost!" She was so scared that she sat on the ground. Later, Chen Afu heard from the neighbor that the old lady was so scared that she was delirious. After returning home, she fell ill. After Chen Afu heard it, he didn't feel guilty at all. Instead, he felt excited. Yes, at that moment, the old lady's scream was simply the sound of nature. It made Chen Afu feel excited and ecstatic. Later, every time it rained, Chen Afu would wear a small white raincoat and run around, scaring a lot of people. Gradually, Chen Afu was no longer satisfied with this feeling of unintentionally scaring people. He wanted to go further and take the initiative to scare people. Create a more terrifying scene to scare people. He liked the helpless expression of others when they were frightened. This gave Chen Afu a sense of satisfaction. Why would he have such a feeling? Chen Afu couldn't explain it clearly. He only knew that when he was young, his grandmother always told him ghost stories to scare him. He was so scared that he trembled. Then, his grandmother opened her mouth full of yellow teeth and laughed. Finally, on a dark night, Chen Afu used a ghost face that he bought on the ground for 3 yuan to scare his grandmother to death. At this moment, Chen Afu laughed. It was also because of his personality that Chen Afu's mental state was somewhat abnormal. He was especially impulsive. 3 years ago, Chen Afu created a terrifying haunting case at West Star Mountain that shocked the entire country. Back then, he and his parents came to West Star Mountain for sightseeing. At night, Chen Afu couldn't suppress the impulse in his heart. He put on a ghost mask and wandered in front of the windows of the tourists' rooms, scaring many tourists. One of the most serious cases was sent to a mental hospital the next day and was only discharged after more than a month. Fortunately, these people were all young people or adults. There were no old people or children. Otherwise, it was possible to scare 1 or 2 people to death. When Chen Afu saw the panicked and helpless expressions of those people, he was excited. When he saw the next day's newspaper, he was even more excited. But at the same time of excitement, Chen Afu was scared. Because West Star Mountain was a scenic tourist area, the local police were afraid that it would affect the local tourism revenue, so they started to investigate the case the next day. Chen Afu also stopped for a while because of this. After entering high school, Chen Afu spent all his time with Wang Jitao and gradually forgot his bad habit. But just yesterday, when he knew that all his classmates would come to West Star Mountain for sightseeing, the perverted feeling deep in Chen Afu's heart couldn't be suppressed. He opened his cupboard and took out the devil face mask from the innermost box. He put it into his bag. Tonight, Chen Afu wanted to restrain his bad habit, but he didn't expect that after Wang Jitao received a call, he was asked to go out for a walk. So, Chen Afu took out the mask and went out of the room. Zhang Bin was immersed in his fantasies. Yang Ming had nothing to do, so he began to use his X-ray vision to scan the entire hotel. He wanted to see what everyone was doing. Of course, he actually wanted to see Chen Mingyan's room the most. Looking at other people's rooms was just an excuse. It was said that little Meng Yan was taking a shower. Yang Ming began to use his X-ray vision to look at the opposite room. This white body is... Fuck. It's actually Zhao Cixi. Yang Ming quickly said. See no evil, see no evil. If it were another girl, Yang Ming might take a few more glances, but the person in front of him was Zhao Cixi, his future sister-in-law. It didn't seem good to see her naked like this, right? Thinking of this, Yang Ming didn't dare to continue to peek at this room. He quickly shifted his gaze. He didn't expect to see a very passionate scene. A man was lying on a woman's body madly doing the action of prostrating himself. Fuck, he's so bold. He's more badass than me. Almost the entire floor of this hotel was booked by his classmates, so the person in front of him must be his classmate. Yang Ming didn't expect this pair of dogs to do it in the hotel. She's really bold. After taking a closer look, Yang Ming was suddenly happy. The man was actually Wang Jitao. Ha, little guy, you also have a time when I peeped on you. Looking at the woman again, from her dress and actions, it was obvious that she was a prostitute. Zhang Bin, do you have a camera? Yang Ming asked with a lewd smile. Camera, yes, it's in my bag. Didn't we buy it together before we went to Yunnan? You forgot. Zhang Bin pointed to his backpack and continued to fantasize. Yang Ming just remembered that they did buy a camera. It was quite high-end. It was a digital SLR camera, Canon 450D. How about going out with me? Yang Ming asked. No, you go by yourself. Why are you going out in the middle of the night? Zhang Bin shook his head. Obviously, his mind was on other things. Then I'll go out. It was better that Zhang Bin didn't go. Taking pictures secretly wasn't a good thing. Yang Ming took the camera out of the room and walked quickly to the outside of Wang Jitao's room. Outside was a grassy yard, so Wang Jitao didn't expect someone to peep in the middle of the night. He didn't even close the curtains. Yang Ming changed to a 50mm/f1.2 portrait lens, then adjusted the ISO and shutter, turned off the flash, and took a close-up of Wang Jitao. Ha! This bro is really professional. This photo is comparable to the promotional posters of those Japanese movies. GGA. Yang Ming took more than 30 high-definition photos with satisfaction, then he turned and left Wang Jitao's room. Hey! What is that? Yang Ming was stunned. He saw a white shadow that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws not far away. When Chen Afu thought of Zhao Cixi's indifference to him and her enthusiasm to Zhang Bin, he was very upset. From love to hate is often only a thin line. Now, Chen Afu hated Zhao Cixi. Chen Afu tiptoed to Chen Mengyan and Zhao Cixi's room. Motherfucker, that guy actually learned to peep like I did. And he even peeped under Chen Mengyan's window. Yang Ming was furious. How can my girlfriend be casually seen by others? You, kid, are dead for meeting me today. I just took a picture of Wang Jitao. I'm in a good mood, and you sent yourself to me for practice. You're really a good person. So, Yang Ming immediately walked over to the person. But when he came to the front, he couldn't help but be stunned. This guy was actually wearing a ghost mask. Yang Ming was famous for his courage. Of course, he wouldn't think that this guy was a ghost. He went up and patted the person's shoulder. Buddy, you come with me. Even if he wanted to be violent, he wouldn't be violent under Chen Mengyan's window. If Chen Mengyan saw him being so violent, she would scold him again. Chen Afu was also shocked. I'm so scary, but someone actually dared to pat my shoulder and talk to me. Chen Afu looked back. The person who came was actually Yang Ming. He was angry. Why did you specifically come to ruin my good thing? So, Chen Afu pretended to be a ghost. He made a horrible sound in his mouth. He wanted to scare Yang Ming away. Idiot, Yang Ming scolded in his heart. You still want to pretend in front of me? It's useless. He used his X-ray vision to look. It turned out to be Chen Afu. Yang Ming felt that it was ridiculous. It turns out that this guy is the type who is cold on the outside. However, Yang Ming immediately denied his own thoughts. This guy was definitely not here to peep. There was no need to wear a mask to peep. If you were caught, it would be useless to wear a mask. What's more, wearing such a scary mask. Could it be that this guy is here to scare people? After having this idea, and thinking about Chen Afu's previous actions and expressions, Yang Ming felt that it was very possible. Is he here to scare Chen Mengyan? You must be tired of living, right? Originally, Yang Ming wanted to beat this guy immediately, but a more vicious idea was still born. So, he pointed to Chen Afu and said, "You, come with me." Woo-woo. Chen Afu saw that Yang Ming wasn't afraid and even pointed at him. He was a bit upset. People are afraid of ghosts. Why aren't you afraid? So, he increased the intensity of his wailing. Fuck. Don't fucking throw away your face. If you continue to poke me, I will kill you. As Yang Ming said this, he pulled Chen Afu's collar and dragged him in the direction of Wang Jitao. Chapter 151. Chen Afu was petrified on the spot. It seems that this Yang Ming is really a ruthless person. I'm so scary, but Yang Ming isn't afraid. If it was a real ghost, Yang Ming would dare to do it. In fact, Chen Afu overestimated Yang Ming. If it was a real ghost, Yang Ming still had to hesitate. As the saying goes, the king of hell is easy to deceive. The little ghosts are hard to deal with. If he really provoked the little ghosts, if he attracted hundreds of little ghosts to come and bother Yang Ming, it would be enough for him to suffer. Now Yang Ming knew the identity of Chen Afu, so he was so violent to him. But Yang Ming had made up his mind, but he didn't reveal Chen Afu's identity. He completely treated him as a stranger and slipped to Wang Jitao's window. Let's start. Yang Ming said faintly. Start what? What are you going to do? Chen Afu deliberately lowered his voice, so that his voice was different from usual. You don't know what I'm going to do. Just do what you wanted to do just now. Yang Ming pointed to Wang Jitao's window and said. I don't understand what you mean. Chen Afu said hesitantly. Don't you know how to scare people? Hurry up. Don't waste time. If I'm in a bad mood, I will beat you until you are scarier than this mask. Yang Ming cracked his fingers and threatened. Chen Afu looked at the fierce Yang Ming. He knew that if he didn't do what he wanted, then a fat beating was inevitable. He had no choice but to pretend to be a ghost to scare people. However, this time, it didn't have the pleasure of the past, woo-woo. Chen Afu knocked on the glass and put his ferocious, big face on the window. Wang Jitao was feeling good. Who said that the miss was very loose? This one in front of him was very tight. Although Wang Jitao's family had shares in the Heavenly Earth Club, it was under his father's nose after all. Wang Jitao did not dare to look for Miss, so now he was so anxious and took the opportunity of camping to do something. What was that sound? Wang Jitao raised his head and looked in the direction of the glass. Suddenly, his pupils dilated countless times. Good Lord, the one outside the window is, oh my God, what the hell is this? Wang Jitao screamed in horror. He was so scared that the lower half of his body immediately withered. What are you shouting for? What's wrong? The young lady frowned. Don't tell me you can't do it. What kind of excuse is that? Oh my God, what the hell is that? Wang Jitao opened his mouth wide and pointed out the window with one hand. The young lady looked out of the window unhappily. Ah. Then, she rolled her eyes. Of course, all of this, including Chen Afu who pretended to be a ghost, was recorded by Yang Ming with a camera. After doing all this, Yang Ming quietly left here. When Chen Afu saw that he scared the boss, he didn't dare to say anything. He turned around and found that Yang Ming had already left. He also hurriedly fled the scene. The reason why Yang Ming didn't expose Chen Afu's identity was that he wanted Chen Afu and Wang Jitao to suffer in silence. He didn't want to start a feud with Wang Jitao so early. If Yang Ming exposed Chen Afu's identity and let him scare Wang Jitao, then it was hard to guarantee that this guy wouldn't confess to Wang Jitao afterward. Because even if he didn't say it, he couldn't guarantee that Yang Ming wouldn't say it afterward. Chen Afu would think that instead of letting Wang Jitao get the news from Yang Ming, it was better to say it himself. In any case, he was also coerced. But now, since Yang Ming didn't know his identity, then why did Chen Afu have to confess? He wasn't stupid. Not only did he bump into other people's good thing, but he also ruined other people's good thing. Wang Jitao would definitely hate him. No matter how stubborn Chen Afu was, he also understood this reason, so Chen Afu chose to be silent. The development of the matter was also as Yang Ming expected. Wang Jitao completely suffered in silence. He didn't dare to call the police, and he didn't dare to tell others. After waking the young lady up, he gave her 1,000 yuan and sent her away so that she wouldn't make a fuss. Although the matter was over, Wang Jitao couldn't get it up. Wang Lao was like hibernating. No matter how much stimulation, he just couldn't get it up. Yang Ming was very comfortable lying on the bed in the hotel room, fiddling with the camera in his hand, but his eyes were looking at Wang Jitao's room. When he saw Wang Jitao abuse his soft little brother again and again in the bathroom, Yang Ming almost jumped up in joy. It can't be so magical, right? Wang Jitao, this guy, is actually impotent. This night, there were destined to be 4 people who couldn't sleep. They were Zhang Bin, Xiao Sisi, Chen Afu, and Wang Jitao. After Wang Jitao lay on the bed, he still kept playing with his little penis under the quilt, but the result was still helpless. Chen Afu saw Wang Jitao comforting himself under the quilt. At first, he was very puzzled. Isn't this guy too bold? But when he saw Wang Jitao kept sighing, Chen Afu also understood some of the key points. He knew that he scared Wang Jitao into impotence, so he didn't dare to say anything. If Wang Jitao knew that this was done by him, then he was dead. So, Chen Afu simply pretended not to know. The next day, Wang Jitao obviously didn't have the interest to play, and his face was gloomy all the time. The 3 followers behind him also didn't say a word. On the contrary, Zhang Bin and Yang Ming were very happy. Last night, Chen Mengyan had already discussed the problem of Zhang Bin with Xiao Sisi. Although Xiao Sisi didn't explicitly say whether she accepted Zhang Bin, from her attitude of not rejecting Zhang Bin today, it was estimated that there was a chance. Yang Ming was even happier. Wang Jitao, oh Wang Jitao, you can be a fake man in the future. You are impotent. Let's see how you can compete with me for a woman. Fight for a bird. Although Wang Jitao didn't call the police, he told his 3 confidants about his encounter with the ghost afterward and asked them to secretly help him investigate. Of course, the person that Wang Jitao suspected the most was Yang Ming, but it didn't seem to be the case. When they came, Yang Ming only brought a bag of food. He didn't bring anything else. Zhang Bing also brought a bag of food. He only carried a camera bag. It was possible that the ghost mask could be put into the camera bag, but the big leather raincoat of the person pretending to be a ghost couldn't be put in. Wang Jitao certainly didn't believe that what he saw was a real ghost. He was a highly educated person and didn't believe in ghosts. But not believing in it didn't mean that he wasn't afraid. The visual impact of that moment was enough to make him frightened. Since Wang Jitao didn't suspect Yang Ming, Chen Afu didn't need to be nosy. Otherwise, if Wang Jitao asked him, how did he know that Yang Ming did it? Then he wouldn't be able to answer. As a result, this matter was put aside as a suspicious case. After Wang Jitao went home, he tried to search the keyword West Star Mountain is haunted on the internet. He actually found a lot of news. It was all about how West Star Mountain was haunted 3 years ago and scared people into mental illness. At this point, Wang Jitao really ruled out Yang Ming as a suspect. He treated this incident as a coincidence. Looking at the internet, the suspect from 3 years ago hadn't been caught. Maybe this time it was the same person who committed the crime. It was just that he was unlucky. As for Chen Afu, he put away the raincoat and the ghost mask when he went home. At least for a long time, he didn't dare to have any perverted thoughts. After returning to the city, because both of them were tired, Yang Ming didn't ask them to stay. He called a taxi to send Qin Mengyan up. Then, he and Zhang Bin each took a taxi and left. After arriving home, Yang Ming took the photos from the memory card from Zhang Bin's camera and transferred them to the computer. Except for the normal photos with Qin Mengyan and Zhang Bin, all the photos about Wang Jitao and Chen Afu were copied into a separate file. Then, the photos in the memory card were shredded with a file shredder. For these photos, Yang Ming first used the light and shadow magic hand to remove the EXIF information. Then, like the processing of the videos, he encrypted and compressed them. After that, he sent them to several mailboxes registered abroad. The reason why he removed the EXIF information was that if these photos were leaked one day, it would be impossible for people with bad intentions to find him based on the information of the photos. EXIF was the abbreviation for exchangeable image file. It was specially set for the photos of digital cameras. It could record the attribute information and shooting data of digital photos. In the EXIF of the photos, information such as the manufacturer of the camera, model, shooting time, aperture, exposure value, and so on could be recorded. When they went out to play this time, only Zhang Bin took a Canon 450D. So Yang Ming had to be careful. Chapter 152. During the summer vacation, Yang Ming was busy between Lan Ling and Qin Mengyan. Qin Mengyan didn't come out often. Most of the time, they just chatted on the internet. Lan Ling could see him almost every day. Although they met so frequently, Lan Ling seemed to have found some problems. After all, women were very sensitive creatures. She just didn't say it out loud. But since it was like this, Yang Ming was happy to be idle and pretend that he didn't know. When he was online at home, Yang Ming often met Wild Female Teacher. They always talked for a while and then started to cheat by playing Do Di Zhu. Now, many people in the Northeast Netcom server knew that Wild Female Teacher and There's No True Love in This World were in cahoots. As long as they appeared, they would leave. In desperation, Yang Ming had to open a side account and continue to help Wild Female Teacher cheat. Yang Ming advised Wild Female Teacher more than once to find a girlfriend quickly. She couldn't keep pestering him, but Wild Female Teacher obviously didn't like this topic. Every time, she would find an excuse to change the topic. Yang Ming also sighed. It seemed that this girl was very affectionate. He didn't persuade her anymore. Sometimes, Yang Ming even wanted to encourage her to pursue her own happiness. Yang Ming felt that it was inconceivable. How could I be so generous and push a woman into the arms of others? He didn't know if it was because Yang Ming was too busy with the two women or because he didn't see what Wild Female Teacher looked like. Yang Ming just treated her as an online friend. On the other hand, I'm a superstar rarely bothered Yang Ming recently. It was as if he had disappeared. Yang Ming was worried. This girl couldn't be crazy about being a star and join some black culture company, right? It was said that those culture companies not only limited the freedom of girls, but also forced them to do some bad things. Yang Ming left her a message, "Superstar, why did you disappear? Could something have happened to him?" 3 days later, "I'm a superstar," replied to Yang Ming. "True love, are you cursing me? Didn't I leave you a message some time ago? I'm going to Korea to shoot an idol drama, so I don't have much time to go online. I'll send you a private message when I get back." Yang Ming smiled bitterly. Go to Korea? Was it possible? Yang Ming naturally wouldn't take it seriously. He didn't believe that a real star would take the initiative to add his QQ and become friends with him. However, this "I'm a superstar" was also quite interesting. She even knew how to use the internet term secret. They mostly appear on the internet and in games. In the middle of August, Yang Ming received the admission notice from Songjiang University of Technology. According to the custom at home, Yang Dehai had to arrange a banquet and invite his relatives. Last year, Yang Ming's uncle, Yang Dashan's daughter, Yang Li, who was Yang Ming's cousin, was admitted to Beijing University of Aeronautics and Astronautics. They held a big banquet and invited all the relatives. Yang Ming also gave 500 yuan as a betrothal gift. This year, it was Yang Ming's turn. If he didn't do well in the exam, then there would be no banquet. Now that Yang Ming was also admitted to university, it was reasonable to hold a banquet. Not for other reasons, but it was time to collect the gifts that were given over the years. So on August 19th, Yang Dehai set up 5 tables in a high-end restaurant and invited his relatives and Mother Yang's relatives. Yang Ming's cousin, Yang Li, also came. She didn't think that Yang Ming could be admitted to university. When she invited Yang Ming last year, she deliberately said to him sarcastically, "If you work hard, you may be able to be admitted to a third-rate university. Don't be discouraged." As a result, this year, Yang Ming was admitted to Songjiang University of Technology. However, Yang Li still said sourly, "Songjiang University of Technology, oh. It's a university in the north. It's still worse than Beijing's university." After Yang Ming heard, his face changed slightly. Songjiang University of Technology also had many leading majors in the country. However, Yang Ming was too lazy to argue with Yang Li. She could say whatever she wanted. It had nothing to do with him. Seeing that Yang Ming didn't speak, Yang Li continued proudly, "If his score is enough, he still has to go to Beijing. The development space in Beijing is much bigger than Songjiang. However, if his score isn't enough, there's no other way." Hee, that's also true. Yang Dehai didn't hear his niece's sourness. He agreed and said, "Your second aunt and I also thought so. We wanted him to go to Beijing." Big Ming, this child, didn't listen. He wanted to stay in Songjiang. His choice is right. It's better to be the head than the tail of a snake. The local university score is more lenient. The same score in Beijing may only be able to go to a normal university. Yang Li snorted, but she treated her second uncle's words as an excuse for Yang Ming. The score is enough. He should be able to go to Tsinghua University, but this child doesn't want to go. Yang Dehai said with a smile. Enough score. Yang Li obviously didn't believe it. How many points did he get? Let me see which university he can go to in Beijing. 697, 5 points. Yang Dehai said. 697, 5. Yang Li was stunned. This was more than 60 points higher than her score last year. However, she still said unconvinced, "I heard that this year's questions were simple, and the scores were generally high. Maybe this score isn't a high score in Beijing." No matter how magnanimous Yang Dehai was, he also heard the sourness in his niece's words. He sighed and said, "Then I don't know." Big Ming went to Songjiang Industry University. Your second aunt and I are already very satisfied. Hee, Yang Ming, if you have time, come to Beijing to play. Cousin sister will entertain you. Yang Li smiled, but she was very unhappy. 697, 5. Did he plagiarize it? However, she also knew that cheating in the college entrance examination was almost impossible. What she didn't expect was that Yang Ming really cheated in the exam. Yang Ming's cousin, Yang Xiaobo, who had just entered high school this year, sincerely expressed his congratulations to his cousin. He had just participated in the high school entrance examination. This year, he was admitted to Songjiang No. 4 High School, which was Yang Ming's alma mater. There would be a banquet in a few days. Although Yang Ming and this cousin were 3 years apart, their relationship was much better than his cousin who was 1 year apart. When he was a child, Yang Xiaobo had always taken Yang Ming as his role model. Even if Yang Ming later fell, Yang Xiaobo still respected his cousin very much. This time, he applied to Songjiang No. 4 High School because of Yang Ming. Cousin, when will you find a sister-in-law for me? Yang Xiaobo joked with Yang Ming. Hee, it's still early. At the dinner table, Yang Ming couldn't say too much. He had already found 2 sisters-in-law for Yang Xiaobo. However, Yang Xiaobo misunderstood and whispered, "Cousin, I know that you can't forget Sister Suya, but how many years has it been? You should be able to accept it, right?" Yang Xiaobo also knew some things about Yang Ming, but he could only remember Suya's name. As for what Suya looked like, he couldn't remember. He only remembered that she was a cute girl with big eyes. Accept it. I have already accepted it. Yang Ming smiled bitterly and couldn't say much. He could only talk about it when they met privately. However, he didn't expect this topic to be heard by Yang Li again. Big Ming, if you want to find a girlfriend, you have to be careful. You must find a college student. Don't find a delinquent girl in the society. When the time comes, you have to show your cousin. Cousin will check for you. Yang Ming was a little unhappy. What does she mean by only finding a college student? If there was no Lan Ling, Yang Ming might not be so angry. But now, Yang Li's words were obviously directed at Lan Ling. Although it was impossible for her to know about Lan Ling, Yang Ming was also very unhappy. Moreover, it's my business to find a girlfriend. Why should I check for you? Do you need my permission to find a boyfriend? So, Yang Ming said indifferently, I just went to college. I haven't thought about this yet. If you want to find someone, it should be you, cousin. How about it? Bring my future brother-in-law back and let me check for him. Yang Ming's uncle, Yang Dashin, was also a person with some power. In these years, he had made some money by renting a sand factory by the sea. He looked down on his 2 poor brothers. After listening to Yang Ming's words, Yang Dashin said, there is no need to check. I have already passed. Lily's boyfriend is good. After a while, let her bring him back and let everyone meet him. Fuck. If the person in front of him wasn't Yang Ming's elder, Yang Ming would already be angry. My girlfriend needs to be checked by Yang Li. Her boyfriend can't be checked by me. Are you talking like a human? Yang Dehai seemed to hear the explosive atmosphere in front of him. He quickly mediated, yeah, Lily is so beautiful and good at studying. Naturally, she needs to find an excellent boyfriend. It's good enough that my Big Ming can find a wife. Why are you still so picky? Yang Ming was really at his wit's end. Since his dad said so, he didn't dare to have any opinions. However, it didn't seem to be good to boost the morale of others and destroy his own prestige, right? Your son is also a person with special abilities. In a YY novel, he is also a badass male lead. It is possible to have 3 wives and 4 concubines, let alone finding a beautiful wife. Chapter 153. Moreover, was Lan Ling considered pretty? Was Qin Mengyan considered pretty? However, he couldn't say it out loud. Forget it. Think whatever you want. I'll just pretend that I didn't hear it. Brother, sister has been like this since young. Don't be angry. Yang Xiaobo looked at Yang Ming's sullen face. It's nothing. Oh yeah, you can go to a better high school with your grades. Why did you enroll in number 4 high school? Yang Ming smiled and said calmly. Brother, can't you go to a better university too? Why did you enroll in Songjiang Industry University? Yang Xiaobo asked. I like it. Yang Ming replied. I like it too. Yang Xiaobo replied. The 2 brothers looked at each other and smiled. For the next few days, Yang Dehai kept asking Yang Ming to ask his cousin, Yang Li, about the things that freshmen should pay attention to. Yang Ming was very reluctant, but he couldn't stand his father's nagging. He took the car to his uncle's house. Here, it was necessary to explain why Yang Ming called Yang Li cousin. In some places in the Northeast, relatives from both the father's generation and the mother's generation were all called cousins. There was no such thing as a cousin. At home, everyone would call each other brother, sister, younger sister. To outsiders, they would call each other cousins. This was a very normal and common thing. Especially now that every family was an only child, the word cousin would be diluted. When introducing people, they would just say my brother or my sister. It wasn't anything urgent, so Yang Ming was too lazy to take a taxi. He went straight to the subway and slowly read the newspaper that he just bought. His uncle's house was very close to the old man Fang Tian's house. He had to admit that things in this world were very ironic sometimes. Not far from the shanty town was the new district, which was also the so-called luxury residential area. It was very close to the beach and the scenery was good. The only fly in the ointment was that it was far away from the shanty town. His uncle, Yang Dashin, bought a 2-story duplex house here in 2002. It cost 950,000. Now, it could be sold for at least 3 million and above. Yang Dashin was also a worker at the Songjiang bus factory in his early years. Just like Yang Ming's father, he received a fixed salary. However, the sea breeze in the 90s made Yang Dashin put down the machinery in his hands and contracted a sand factory by the sea. Over the years, he had accumulated a lot of wealth. The houses here were very good, which made Yang Ming envious. Yang Ming decided that when he had money in the future, he must buy a house here and bring his parents here to enjoy life. Yang Ming rarely came to his uncle's house. After his uncle's family became rich, he was neither cold nor warm to his relatives. In fact, Yang Ming could understand. His uncle saw that his 2 younger brothers were too poor and was afraid that they would ask to borrow money from him. After Yang Dehai won the prize, Yang Ming's first thought was to not tell his relatives and friends. So it was human nature, but Yang Dashin was a bit too much. If you have money, then you have money. We won't borrow money from you. You can't always look down on people, right? Especially Yang Li, she always regarded herself as a little princess. Whether it was Chinese New Year or the usual family gathering, Yang Li always thought that she was superior. When she spoke, she always showed a sense of superiority. This made Yang Ming very uncomfortable. Big Ming, you are here. Come in and sit. A middle-aged woman greeted Yang Ming warmly. This person was Yang Ming's aunt, a very kind woman. She was kind to everyone. In his uncle's house, only she didn't have any prejudice against the relatives of the Yang family. This was really rare. "Hello, Auntie. I am looking for Sister Yongli." Yang Ming smiled and greeted her. "Oh, Yongli is upstairs playing computer games with her friends. You go up and find her." The auntie found a pair of slippers for Yang Ming and said, "Big Ming, if you are free, come and sit with us. We are not outsiders." "Okay, Auntie." Yang Ming nodded perfunctorily. If there was nothing, he would never come. Yang Ming went upstairs and heard a girl's laughter from afar. Yang Ming frowned. "Didn't we have an appointment to talk about something? Why are there other guests here?" Yang Ming knocked on the door, then he pushed the door and went in. Yang Ming, who wasn't very happy, was polite enough. He wanted to turn around and leave. After entering the house, Yang Ming saw the person in the house. He couldn't help but be stunned. A girl who was about the same age as him only wore a tank top. Obviously, she didn't wear a bra inside. Yang Ming opened his mouth wide. Yang Ming was a little embarrassed and quickly turned around. "I'm sorry, Big Ming, what happened to you? Did I allow you to come in? You can't just enter a girl's boudoir as you please." Yang Li couldn't stand it and scolded loudly. "Li, this is the cousin you were talking about. He is quite handsome. He is not as bad as you said." The girl spoke. "Him? Humph, didn't you see his eyes just now? His eyeballs were about to fall out of your body." Yang Li said coldly, "Sun Jie, don't bother with him. No, he is still shy. I think he is still a virgin, right?" Sun Jie looked at Yang Ming charmingly and giggled. Yang Ming was still feeling guilty for inadvertently looking at Sun Jie. Now that he listened to Sun Jie's words, he despised her in his heart. It turns out that she is a slut. I don't know how my cousin got together with her. Is my cousin also a slut? And it is very possible. Yang Ming thought very evilly. Yang Ming simply didn't hide. He turned around directly and sat on Yang Li's bed. He looked at Sun Jie up and down. It had to be said that this Sun Jie was definitely a stunner. Her two breasts were as big as two big papayas. They were so swollen that it felt like they were going to explode. And this woman also revealed a kind of flirtatious charm. A look or a movement would seduce people to commit a crime. Based on Yang Ming's experience, this girl named Sun Jie was definitely not a virgin. The charm that was inadvertently revealed was definitely a woman who had been with men for a long time. So Yang Ming simply stared at Sun Jie unscrupulously. G. H. Maybe even bigger. Fuck, it wasn't that Yang Ming hadn't seen a beauty with big breasts. Zhao Ying was one, but she was only around F. But he had never seen a woman with such a big breasts. If he could grab a handful, it would be very cool, right? What are you looking at? Sun Jie didn't have the slightest avoidance and shyness. She bit her lips and looked at Yang Ming with a smile. Why? You still don't want me to look? Do you think you can pretend to be a virgin with your legs between your legs? If it was another person, Yang Ming might not be so explicit. But this Sun Jie was Yang Li's friend. Yang Ming naturally didn't have a good impression of her. Legs between my legs. Sun Jie was stunned. Then she looked at Yang Ming charmingly. I'm not wearing underwear. Do you want to see? Yang Ming obviously didn't believe Sun Jie's words. He snorted and didn't want to say anything to her. If it was another occasion, Yang Ming might still be able to tease Sun Jie. After all, a big-breasted beauty still had a certain temptation. But today, Yang Li was present. Yang Ming wasn't in the mood. Yang Ming, what did you say to my friend? Yang Li was very unhappy. She pointed at Yang Ming and said, "Why are you such a hooligan? Be careful, I will tell second uncle. I'm a hooligan. There is a female hooligan beside you. Maybe you are also a hooligan who pretends to be pure. How dare you talk about me?" Yang Ming said faintly, "Whatever. You." Yang Li stared at him angrily. "Do you still want me to talk to you about the precautions of a college freshman?" "You go ahead." Yang Ming said lazily. If his father didn't ask him to come, Yang Ming wouldn't be bothered with this. Yang Li originally wanted to use the opportunity to mock Yang Ming. Of course, the most important thing was to let Yang Ming see her upper-class life, and show off to this country bumpkin brother. Yang Li was the kind of person who liked to show off. She liked to see the envious expression of others. However, this cousin Yang Ming always had an indifferent expression. The more Yang Li thought about it, the angrier she got. She always wanted to find an opportunity to show off her wealth to Yang Ming. It was unknown when it started. Showing off one's wealth had become a social trend. On the internet, the Lady Elegant, Sister Lan, and the famous Shangxi boss's daughter in the United States were all representatives of showing off one's wealth. Of course, these were only on the internet. It was also very common in reality. Some rich second generations who relied on their family's wealth began to show off to their classmates and relatives, comparing with each other. Yang Li was obviously one of these people. Although Yang Ming didn't understand this behavior, it didn't mean that it didn't exist. It might be cool to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger, but it was annoying to show off every day. Chapter 154. At this moment, Yang Ming still didn't know Yang Li's thoughts. He just thought that she was just going to mock him. "Yang Ming, first of all, your attitude is wrong. When you enter the university, you will be so lazy when you meet people. How are you going to get along well with people?" Yang Li was dissatisfied. "Do you think you are still at home? When you enter society, you have to learn to lower your head. If others are stronger than you, you have to have a good relationship with them. It will be good for your future development." "Oh, I know," Yang Ming said mechanically. "At that time, there should be a lot of rich people in your class, right? You have to have a good relationship with them. In the future, it will be good for your career development." Yang Li said, "Today, I will take you to see the upper-class life of the rich so that you won't be at a loss when you go out with your classmates." "You want to take me out?" Yang Ming asked curiously. "Yeah, I have an appointment with Sun Jia. We will go to a friend's party later. You should come with me." Yang Li ordered. "Sun Jia doesn't have a male companion. You will temporarily pretend to be her boyfriend." Yang Ming was very unhappy with Yang Li's attitude. If it weren't for the blood relationship, Yang Ming would have slammed the door and left on the spot. "So, you are here to ask for my help? You are so arrogant to ask for my help. Not only did you mock me, but you also brought me to see the upper-class life. Obviously, you are using me as a shield." To be honest, Yang Ming didn't object to being Sun Jia's temporary boyfriend. Although Yang Ming had a serious virginity problem, there wasn't much to say about temporary play. Especially, this was the temptation of bursting breasts. "Why? Can't you say something? What do you mean?" Yang Li saw that Yang Ming didn't speak and was very unhappy. Yang Ming looked at Sun Jia playfully. "Can a temporary boyfriend also enjoy the treatment of a normal boyfriend?" Yang Li just wanted to throw a tantrum, but Sun Jia smiled and said, "What kind of treatment do you want? As long as it's okay." "Hee, this is what you said." Yang Ming didn't know what was okay, but at least this Sun Jia's words weren't as bad as Yang Li's. Although it was a bit too flirtatious. "Yang Ming, do you really think you're something? Let me tell you, I'm just letting you be a shield today. There are many people who are chasing after Sun Jia. Today, the person who is treating is the vice president of Xiongfeng Group. When the time comes, you better be a shield and don't cause trouble for me. Yang Li warned. Is it Xiongfeng Group again? When Yang Ming heard these 4 words, he was furious. What's more, a vice president. So, he would be Wang Jitao's future lackey. Even if Yang Li didn't say it, Yang Ming was too lazy to deal with such people. Then, don't look for me. I'll just be like this. Yang Ming said coldly. You. Okay, Yang Ming. You were asked to come today by second uncle. He told me on the phone before that he handed you over to me. If you don't listen to me, do you believe that I will complain to second uncle? Yang Li pointed at Yang Ming and said angrily. Although Yang Ming hated his cousin, his father, Yang Dahai, was very superstitious about Yang Li. It was no wonder that Yang Li's grades were outstanding since young. It was probably because his father wanted his own good that he called his cousin to tell him about university. If Yang Li said something unpleasant to his father would be very disappointed. Yang Ming was a filial son and didn't want to put his father in a difficult position. After all, it wasn't a good feeling to let his niece criticize his son. Li, your cousin has quite a personality. Sun Jia wasn't angry. She squinted at Yang Ming. He has a personality. Ha! Yang Li laughed disdainfully. Yang Ming ignored her and leaned on the bed leisurely. Yang Ming, Sun Jia and I will play on the computer for a while. You can do whatever you want. Yang Li saw Yang Ming's sour face and didn't want to talk nonsense with him. Anyway, the main purpose of looking for him had been achieved. In this way, Yang Ming was happy to be idle. He saw an MP4 on the bedside table, so he picked it up, put on the headphones, and looked at it casually. NN. Oh yeah. Fuck my pussy. A burst of crazy screams came from the headphones. No way, I didn't expect Yang Li's MP4 to have this kind of thing. Sure enough, this Yang Li was really a woman who was cold on the outside but passionate on the inside. Waha, it was actually a lesbian film. 2 foreign women were using a fake penis to sex each other. For lesbians, Yang Ming didn't reject them. On the contrary, Yang Ming also felt that lesbians had certain benefits. If he had more wives in the future, he didn't mind having lesbians with his wives. In this way, he didn't have to worry about being cuckolded one day. Moreover, no matter what, if one of them got pregnant, it would be his child, Yang Ming's child. It was just that these 2 foreign women were a bit too fierce. After penetrating OO, they actually started to penetrate the chrysanthemum. Seeing this, Yang Ming couldn't help but feel a little disgusted. He quickly changed to the next program. The result was still an adult AV, but this time it was from Japan, and it was also a lesbian film. Back to the main directory, Yang Ming roughly looked at the name of the film. It was either Red Hot, Kamikaze Girls, or Private. Yang Ming was also a senior in adult AV, so he naturally understood what this meant. After flipping through these, there were a few foreign series at the back. Yang Ming picked a film called The Imposter and watched it. This was an American-style YY series. It was easy to make people feel excited and resonate with it. Yang Li and Sun Jia were chatting in front of the computer about some women's topics, such as beauty, breast enlargement, and so on. Yang Ming was very skeptical about whether Sun Jia's breasts still needed to be enlarged. They were going to explode. If they were to be enlarged, it would be a bit of a burden. Later, Yang Ming was too lazy to listen to what they were talking about. The MP4 was more interesting than their topic. However, The Imposter was too short. There were only 2 episodes. Yang Ming finished this kind of short drama quickly. Sister Yang Li, is there any more imposter? Help me copy 2 more episodes. Yang Ming took off the headphones and said to Yang Li casually. What imposter? You mean that MP4? That's Sun Jie's. How can you simply touch other people's things? Yang Li frowned. When Sun Jia came, she was listening to music with the MP4 headphones. She took it off when she entered the room and threw it on the bedside table. Both of them didn't notice it just now. Now, they saw Yang Ming playing with the MP4. It's Sun Jia again. Yang Ming looked at this woman with a deep meaning. Sun Jia didn't feel embarrassed. Instead, she met Yang Ming's gaze and smiled at him. This smile made Yang Ming feel a little embarrassed. He quickly lowered his head and didn't look at her. He continued to play with the MP4. Sun Jia continued to chat with Yang Li. At 4:00 in the afternoon, Sun Jia received a phone call. Then, she said a few words to Yang Li. Both of them began to change their clothes. Hey, we have to change our clothes. You go out first. Yang Li said to Yang Ming. Yang Ming picked up the MP4 and left the room. Do you think I want to look at you? If I want to look, even if you wear an iron plate, I can still see your naked body. After more than half an hour, Yang Ming was getting impatient. Only then did Yang Li and Sun Jia push open the door and walk out. Yang Li was still dressed like a little pepper, but Sun Jia. Yang Ming almost didn't recognize her. Is this the little slut just now? She's simply a lady who can't be more ladylike. A set of beautiful princess dress not only set off the exquisite figure, but also made the charm on Sun Jia disappear without a trace. Instead, it faintly revealed a noble temperament. What are you looking at? Don't you recognize me? Sun Jia looked at Yang Ming, who was staring at her funnily. No. Yang Ming shook his head. He felt that Sun Jia was a bit mysterious. He originally planned to have a one-night stand with her. Now, Yang Ming directly dispelled this idea. Intuition told him that this was a person who ate people without spitting out the bones. Only Yang Li, this self-righteous person, still treated her as a good friend. Pervert. Yang Li glared at Yang Ming. Be more natural later. Don't expose yourself. Yang Ming frowned. From the phone call that Sun Jia just received, the person who was treating tonight was mainly Sun Jia, and Yang Li was just accompanying the guest. This person was probably the vice president of Xiongfeng Group. Then, was it necessary for him to get involved in this mess? That Sun Jia was obviously suspicious, and that vice president was Sun Jia's pursuer. The relationship between these two could be easily sorted out. However, it was only a slight hesitation. Yang Ming decided to go with them. Wang Jitao couldn't deal with him now, but if he was afraid of his lackey, then he shouldn't do anything in the future. Chapter 155. Isn't he just a vice president? So what if he's a general manager? He's just an employee. Thinking of this, Yang Ming was relieved. At this moment, he and Wang Jitao were in a semi-honeymoon period. No one was sure that they could kill each other, so on the surface, their relationship was still very good. It was fine if the vice president didn't find trouble with him. Once he found trouble with him, not only would he have a reason to mess with him, but he could also complain to Wang Jitao afterwards. With Wang Jitao's arrogant character, he would definitely stand up for Yang Ming. In this way, not only would the vice president be messed with, but Wang Jitao would also suffer a loss. What's more, in the end, even if they shed all pretense of cordiality, Yang Ming still had little Wang's naked photo as his trump card. This guy wouldn't want to become Brother Shi's number 2, right? Yang Ming really felt that he was a little bit of a schemer. Yes, ever since he was tricked, Yang Ming no longer stubbornly believed that fists were the only way to solve things. Sometimes, he could use a little conspiracy to beat the enemy to a pulp. If he used both at the same time, he would be invincible. It had to be said that Yang Ming was growing and becoming more stable. He knew how to plan before acting. He had considered the matter more thoroughly than before. It was also after thinking about this point that Yang Ming made up his mind to wade in this pool of muddy water. Otherwise, even if Sun Jia agreed to sleep with Yang Ming afterwards, Yang Ming wouldn't be stupid enough to agree to this kind of thing that would start a feud for no reason. However, Yang Ming also decided. Aren't you using me as a tool? Don't you want to show off to me with the upper class? Well, I'll just do it my way. Anyway, I'm thick-skinned. Even a machine gun can't penetrate my skin. Let's see who will be embarrassed first. Ha! It's decided. If the people present knew that Sun Jia found a gangster boyfriend, and this gangster was Yang Li's cousin, it would definitely be an interesting thing. Yang Li still didn't know that her cousin had begun to scheme against her. She was still proud of her cleverness. This way, he could humiliate Yang Ming. Secondly, he would have achieved his goal. The vice president of the Xiongfeng group, Guo Jianchao, was crazily pursuing Sun Jia. This was not a secret in the circle, but Sun Jia always ignored him. Not only did she reject Guo Jianchao, but she also told Guo Jianchao that she had a boyfriend. Of course, Guo Jianchao was not reconciled, so he decided to bribe Sun Jia's good friend, Yang Li. He gave Yang Li a few bottles of French perfume and a limited edition LV handbag. Yang Li couldn't resist the temptation and finally agreed to try to help Guo Jianchao. It was true that Yang Li's family was relatively rich, but sometimes having money didn't mean that you could buy what you wanted. Take the LV limited edition handbag as an example. It wasn't listed in China at all. Yang Li couldn't buy it even if she had the money. As for Guo Jianchao, because of his business, he knew a lot of people, so he directly got them from overseas. Although Yang Li promised Guo Jianchao to help Sun Jia was her good friend, and she also knew about Sun Jia. It was almost impossible for Sun Jia and Guo Jianchao to be together. However, for the bottles of perfume and handbags, Yang Li decided to help Guo Jianchao once without harming Sun Jia's interests. It was considered as returning a favor to him. And this time, it was a good opportunity. Tonight, Guo Jianchao was treating. Sun Jia naturally knew his purpose. It wasn't good to not go. After all, his reason was dignified. They were business partners. It was also necessary to get together. In desperation, she found Yang Li to discuss and decided to find a shield to deal with it first. Yang Li also immediately thought of her cousin, Yang Ming. She thought that Yang Ming was a person who had not seen much of the world. It was impossible for him to have the opportunity to contact these senior white-collar workers and rich kids. So, when the time came, he would definitely behave like a yes-man and have stage fright like a noob. In this way, it could be considered as an explanation to Guo Jianchao. No matter how stupid Guo Jianchao was, he could see that Yang Ming was temporarily caught to join in the fun. This also told Guo Jianchao that Sun Jia didn't have a boyfriend. Yes, if she really had a boyfriend, she didn't need to make a temporary one. Such a good thing that could kill two birds with one stone. Why not? Because Yang Li originally had the idea of exposing Yang Ming, she didn't dress him up. Yang Ming's clothes were a pile of street goods. Anyone with a discerning eye could see it at a glance. Sun Jia couldn't ignore this. She also saw it. However, she didn't think that Yang Ming was a noob, although Yang Ming's performance was very noob. Sun Jia felt that Yang Ming was a person that she couldn't understand. You said that he was lustful, right? It didn't seem to be the case. The moment before, he was looking at her chest unscrupulously. His eyes were full of desire. The next moment, he became lazy and indifferent. Therefore, Sun Jia thought that Yang Ming was a person who was very shrewd and hidden. How would she know that Yang Ming was weighing the pros and cons? The most important point was that since that incident, Yang Ming was the only man she didn't hate in the past 5 years. Therefore, Sun Jia would tease this boy. Out of Yang Li's house, the two women took Yang Ming to the underground parking lot. It had to be said that this place was like a small car show. Most of the good cars in Songjiang City could be seen here. It was indeed a place where the rich people gathered. Yang Li was driving a modern sports car. This car was very cool when it was taken out, but it was much inferior here. In contrast, Sun Jia's car was much more arrogant. It was actually the Audi R8 TDI Le Mans V12 that had just been released. A while ago, Yang Ming was learning in a driving school, so he knew more about cars during this time. This was a car that hadn't been sold publicly in the country. Now, the R8 in the country was generally the V8 version. He didn't know how this woman named Sun Jia got this car, but he couldn't help but sigh at her wide range of connections. Especially the red appearance, the woman looked more wild when she drove it. Indeed, the R8 couldn't be considered the best sports car, but it wasn't an exaggeration to say that it was the most charming sports car. The big mouth design was more flamboyant than the V8 version. Especially the pair of driving lights, it was absolutely enchanting and dreamy. Get in the car. Yang Li saw that Yang Ming only stared at the R8 but didn't look at her cool. She was very angry. There was a better car, but I didn't want to sit in yours. Yang Ming snorted and went straight to Sun Jia's R8. He reached out and opened the door. Hey, how can you be so shameless? Did she let you sit? Yang Li saw that Yang Ming ignored her, and she was even angrier. You asked me to pretend to be her boyfriend, and now you want me to sit in the same car with you. Do you think this is reasonable? Yang Ming shrugged. Yang Li listened to Yang Ming's explanation. She was really speechless. What he said seemed to be reasonable. Yang Ming didn't care about Yang Li, who was stunned and got into Sun Jia's R8. Sun Jia looked at Yang Ming with interest. She felt that Yang Ming was different. This man seems to be very arrogant. She also knew about Yang Ming's family background from Yang Li. It was reasonable to say that Yang Ming wouldn't be so arrogant. But now, Yang Ming's character was definitely not a pretense, but a natural one. There was a saying that heroes weren't afraid of being born in a poor family. Those with high aspirations would also be proud. In other words, as long as you were in a superior position, no matter what your family background was, there would always be a day when you stood out. Therefore, Sun Jia suddenly had some expectations. She wanted to see how Yang Ming would behave in a while. If it was the previous Yang Ming, he would definitely be arrogant, but he definitely wouldn't have the sense of indifference. It was also because of the special ability that Yang Ming had the capital to look down on the heroes. Of course, this kind of change in temperament was difficult for the person involved to notice. Yang Ming sat comfortably on the R8's leather chair and looked at the interior of the car. It was luxurious but not cumbersome. The knobs on the operating panel were orderly and had good maneuverability. Your relationship with Yang Li seems to be very tense. Sun Jia glanced at Yang Ming and smiled as she started the car. The roar of the powerful engine was full of unspeakable pleasure. Don't you know that it's impolite to comment on other people's family matters? Yang Ming said faintly. You are now my boyfriend. This is what you said. You have the right to exercise your boyfriend's rights. Similarly, I also have the right to exercise my girlfriend's rights. So, I am asking about my boyfriend's family matters. It's not a busybody, right? Sun Jia was slightly stunned and calmly responded. Is it? Yang Ming didn't expect this woman to be quite smart. However, when it came to arguing, Yang Ming had never lost to others. You are exercising your rights. Well, then I will also exercise my rights. Little guy, do you think I can't win against you? Yang Ming stretched out his hand and put it directly on Sun Jia's thigh. My cousin is a bit snobbish. Don't you know? Sun Jia's brows slightly frowned. What are you doing? I'm exercising my right. Are you going back on your words? Yang Ming looked at Sun Jia provocatively. Chapter 156. Sun Jia hesitated a little, then she relaxed her eyebrows. She was a very strong woman who meant what she said. Although Yang Ming caressed her thigh wantonly made her feel a little uncomfortable, she still resisted and didn't refuse. Originally, Yang Ming was also teasing her. Seeing that she didn't respond and let him touch her, he lost the intention to continue. It wasn't that he was pretending to be serious. It would be a waste not to touch such a good thing. The key problem was that Sun Jia was now driving. He was harassing her right leg that controlled the accelerator and brake. If there was an accident, it would be fucked up. Even if he died under a peony, he would still be a romantic ghost. Yang Ming would never do such a thing. Although he sometimes used this sentence as a catchphrase, saying it and doing it were two different things. Why aren't you touching? Yang Ming let go of his hand. Sun Jia felt a little annoyed. Am I not attractive? I can't even handle a young boy. Sun Jia took it for granted that Yang Ming was still a virgin, which was thanks to Yang Li's previous misdirection. Yang Li described Yang Ming as a backward student who was hated by everyone in the class. Drive your car. I don't want to die yet. Yang Ming thought, a slut is a slut. Are you addicted to my touch? Sun Jia snorted. Obviously, she thought that Yang Ming was just being stubborn. The real reason was that he was shy. Therefore, two people who misunderstood each other sat in a car with ulterior motives. It was relatively balanced. Except for some words that didn't hurt or itch, there was no key point. Yang Ming tried to find out about Sun Jia's life experience, but she pretended to be stupid and interrupted. The R8 TDI Le Mans used a 5.5-liter V12 TDI diesel engine with a maximum power of 500 horsepower and a torque of 1010 Nm. The top speed was 298 km per hour and it took 4.2 seconds to accelerate from 100 km per hour. This speed was absolutely impossible for a modern cool car to keep up, so Sun Jia deliberately slowed down. When they entered the main road of the city, they couldn't go faster even if they wanted to. In the country, other than the appearance of a sports car, there were very few places where it could display its strengths. Sun Jia's R8 TDI Le Mans was even more eye-catching. Walking on the street, more than 90% of the people turned their heads. The reason was very simple, because there was a ruthless person called Iron Man who drove this car. How is it? The power is good, right? Sun Jia was very proud of her small car. It's not bad, but it can't run well in China. Yang Ming shook his head. It's a waste of this engine. That's right. When I saw Iron Man driving this car, I liked it very much. Only after I bought it did I realize that it was not suitable for the domestic conditions. Sun Jia shook her head. But it is a fact that it is cool enough. Do you know why? Yang Ming asked. Why? Isn't it because that's what Iron Man drives? Sun Jia wondered. Iron Man driving it is one of the reasons, because this car looks like Iron Man. Yang Ming didn't stop until he was shocked. Looks like Iron Man. Sun Jia broke into a sweat. But now that she thought about it, the front of the car did look like that. She couldn't help but admire Yang Ming. He was really imaginative. Originally, Yang Ming thought that the vice president of the Xiongfeng group, Guo Jianchao, would arrange to treat in his own territory, Heavenly Earth. He didn't expect Sun Jia to park the car in front of a nightclub. The Nightless Club was one of the 3 major nightclubs in Songjiang. Not only was it large, but the facilities were good. The most important thing was that it was safe to play here. Those who could afford to come here to play had some social connections. Naturally, they weren't afraid of the law enforcement. At most, they would be fined. But they were afraid of provoking the underworld people here. These people didn't care who you were. They would beat you up until your mother couldn't recognize you. The reason why the Nightless Club was popular was that there were people guarding the place. These people were also people who really mingled with the underworld. They were different from the general security. In the nightclub, no matter how big the conflict was, they would be able to arrive in the first place. Unlike the security guards, they would hide far away when there was a fight. With people guarding the place, naturally, there were a lot fewer troublemakers. So, this place was loved by many senior white-collar workers. The Nightless Club was a large place with a bath, massage, dining bar, disco bar, KTV and other leisure entertainment. Yang Ming was dressed very ordinarily, but he came down from an R8. So, the receptionist didn't dare to underestimate his identity. In this year, there were a lot of rich people with eccentricities. What was wrong with wearing clothes from a street stall? He had even seen someone riding a tricycle here. At that time, he wanted to drive away this ugly guy. Fortunately, an experienced receptionist stopped him in time and told him the identity of this person. This tricycle man was actually the owner of the largest furniture store. But, he rode a tricycle to deliver furniture to people all day long. It was said that at first, it was because of his leg problem that the doctor asked him to exercise. Later, after his leg was healed, he fell in love with this business and couldn't let it go. "Sir, madam, do you have an appointment?" the receptionist asked. "The restaurant's lilac room," Sun Jia said to the receptionist. "Okay, this way please." As he said this, he led the way for Yang Ming and the others. Although the decoration here was very luxurious, it was different from Celestial World. Celestial World was elegant and noble, but here was magnificent and luxurious. "It's here." The receptionist stopped at the door of a room with a lilac written on it. After making a "please" gesture, he knocked on the door and then opened the door. He said to the inside, "Sorry to disturb. There are 3 guests." After the receptionist left, Sun Jia, Yang Ming and Yang Li entered the private room. "Sun Jia, you are here. Welcome, welcome." A man wearing gold-rimmed glasses stood up from the sofa and walked over. "Guo Jianchao, what you said is wrong. Sister Sun Jia and I came on time. Why do you sound like we are late?" Yang Li said with dissatisfaction. "Who said you're late? I'm just anxious to see our great beauty." Guo Jianchao noticed Yang Ming next to Sun Jia at this time. He asked with surprise, This is my boyfriend, Yang Ming." Sun Jia generously pulled Yang Ming's hand and said, "Boyfriend? Sun Jia. He is your boyfriend." Guo Jianchao was stunned. Although Sun Jia always said that she had a boyfriend, Guo Jianchao still had a fluke mentality. He thought that Sun Jia was perfunctory. He didn't expect that he would appear in front of him today. "Yes, Yang Ming. Let me introduce you. This is Guo Jianchao, the vice president of Songjiang City's Xiongfeng Group. He is only 29 years old this year. It can be said that he has a promising future." Sun Jia said. "Hello." Yang Ming reached out his hand. He still had to do a good job on the surface. However, Gu Jianchao looked at Sun Jia in a daze. He didn't mean to shake hands with Yang Ming. Motherfucker, what do you mean? I gave you face, but you don't want it. Then, don't blame me for thinking of ways to mess with you. Yang Ming was furious. Do you treat me like air? Sun Jia is also my temporary girlfriend. How can you stare at her like that? Yang Ming put down his hand and said faintly, Little Jia, Mr. Guo seems to be very hostile to me. Gu Jianchao recovered. He awkwardly reached out his hand and wanted to shake hands with Yang Ming. However, this time, Yang Ming didn't care about him at all. Gu Jianchao had to put down his hand bitterly. It was reasonable to say that as an elite in the business world, he wouldn't make such a low-level mistake. Even if there was hostility, he wouldn't show it immediately. This was a big taboo in the business world. However, because he liked Sun Jia too much, there was a moment of absent-mindedness. However, he was unlucky. Now, Yang Ming had directly listed him in the list of people who deserved a beating. Mr. Yang, you misunderstood. I do have a good impression of Miss Sunday. I lost my composure just now. I don't have any opinion of you. Gu Jianchao quickly explained. Pretend, keep pretending. Wang Jitao used this trick, and you used it again. You are indeed jackals of the same tribe. You don't have an opinion of me. Only a ghost would believe it. Well said. Yang Ming nodded, but he thought in his heart. Who doesn't know how to hide a knife in a smile? Sun Jia was very satisfied with Yang Ming's performance, but Yang Li didn't think so. She pulled Yang Ming to make a fool of himself. She didn't expect Yang Ming to not have stage fright. As she was about to say something, she heard Gu Jianchao speak. Mr. Yang, let me introduce you to a few people here. This is Songjiang Airport's Vice President Liao. Gu Jianchao pointed to a short fat man. Yang Ming nodded at him, and the short fat man smiled back at him. This is Hua's Jewelry Company's President Hua. Gu Jianchao pointed to the remaining thin man. Yang Ming still nodded, but President Hua looked at Yang Ming with some disdain. Humph, which was considered a greeting. Chapter 157. What is Mr. Yang's occupation? Gu Jianchao raised his glass and asked. Me. Yang Ming smiled and said, hee, I'm unemployed. Yang Ming had read some web novels. Many protagonists would say they were unemployed when others asked them what they were doing. Not only did it make them seem unfathomable, but once the lie was exposed, there wouldn't be any awkwardness. Because I am unemployed, I didn't lie to you. My cousin just entered university this year. Hee, how many of you have such a successful career? Yang Li suddenly interrupted. Yang Li saw that Yang Ming's performance was very calm. She was a little angry. She pulled him here to create a negative effect. How could she let him pretend to be Sun Jia's boyfriend and deceive everyone? So, Yang Li couldn't help but reveal the secret. Yang Ming frowned. He thought, you are too impatient. I still want to pretend to be a big bad wolf. If this is the case, then I won't serve you. Sun Jia also looked at Yang Li with confusion. If you said so, wouldn't everything be exposed? Gu Jinchao's face was full of joy. He looked like he was enlightened. Ah. Hee, I was just joking. I saw that Mr. Yang's surname is also Yang, so I just called him cousin. Yang Li pretended to say something wrong and quickly explained herself. In fact, the more she explained, the worse it got. Humph, Yang Ming snorted coldly and unbuttoned his shirt, revealing his strong chest muscles. He leaned back casually, lit a cigarette, and stuffed it into his mouth. He looked like a ruffian in the underworld. Okay, cousin, I know you look down on people like us who mix in the underworld, but Sun Jia and I are really in love. She didn't say anything, so you don't have to worry too much, right? As Yang Ming said this, he held the cigarette in one hand and hugged Sun Jia's shoulder with the other hand. Thanks to the scene of Yang Ming touching her thigh in the car, Sun Jia wasn't so repulsed by Yang Ming's physical harassment. She didn't reveal any flaws. She smiled charmingly at everyone and looked very happy. Yang Li was dumbfounded. Gu Jianchao was dumbfounded. President Hua and Vice President Liao were also dumbfounded. They were usually people of a higher class. When had they ever met such a rough little gangster like Yang Ming? Seeing him like a gangster, everyone felt strange in their hearts. In any case, these people were considered cultured and cultured people. They were very disdainful of Yang Ming's identity. However, because Sun Jia was present, it wasn't good to say anything sarcastic. The contempt in President Hua's eyes became heavier. What kind of people were hooligans? They thought that they were gang leaders after a few days of watching gangsters, but in reality, they were just trash at the bottom of society. Originally, Gu Jianchao thought that Yang Ming was just a temporary replacement. But now, seeing Yang Ming's ruffian face and his strong muscles, it was clear that he was a real gangster. Even if he wanted to pretend to be her boyfriend, he should have at least caught a decent one, right? So maybe this Yang Ming is really Sun Jia's boyfriend. Gu Jinchao's heart that still had hope was instantly beaten back to the bottom. Yang Li didn't know that she was originally trying to sabotage. She didn't succeed in sabotaging, but there were some signs that the fake became real. Yang Ming was originally a little gangster, so he had a way of speaking. Although Gu Jianchao didn't dare to say anything on the surface, he was angry in his heart. He was the vice president of the Xiongfeng group, but he couldn't compare to a little gangster. Looking at Yang Ming's face, Gu Jianchao was furious. If it wasn't for President Hua giving him a look, Gu Jianchao would have already ridiculed him. Although Vice President Liao had been maintaining the atmosphere at the table, Gu Jianchao wasn't very interested, so the banquet didn't reach the climax. As for Yang Ming, he didn't care about that. He ate whatever there was and filled his stomach like a whirlwind sweeping away the clouds. Anyway, he wasn't throwing his face. Others could think whatever they wanted. I'm going to the bathroom. President Hua stood up and secretly gave Gu Jianchao a look. Gu Jianchao immediately understood. He stood up and said, I'm going too. Let's go together. Yang Ming's mouth slightly sneered. Their little actions had already raised Yang Ming's vigilance, so Yang Ming always looked in one direction. In the bathroom. I'm so pissed off. Brother Hua, do you think that little gangster is really Sun Jia's boyfriend? Gu Jianchao said while gritting his teeth. It's hard to say. Maybe, maybe not. But the possibility of not being him is higher. President Hua analyzed, what is Sun Jia's identity? How could she find a little gangster to be her boyfriend? That person is Yang Li's cousin, which means he is 3 years younger than Sun Jia. Do you think this is possible? And, not bad. I don't think it is possible either. Gu Jianchao listened to President Hua's analysis. He had a little idea in his heart. Right, the plan we talked about before, are we still doing it? Why, little brother? Are you scared? President Hua smiled. Scared? What am I scared of? Am I scared of that little gangster? Gu Jianchao sneered. Of course, I'm not talking about that little gangster. I'm talking about Sun Jia's family background. President Hua shook his head. These words touched Gu Jinchao's heart. He immediately became silent. But then he became fierce again. Isn't a woman just like that? As long as you make her feel good in bed, you don't have to be afraid that she won't listen to you. Hee hee, that's right. President Hua smiled and said, "Then I congratulate you, little brother, for becoming the son-in-law of the Sun family." Ha 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 ha. Brother Hua, don't worry. If there is such a day, I won't forget President Hua's kindness. Gui Jianchao wasn't an arrogant person usually, but today's matter was his weakness. So, he didn't notice President Hua's expression. Why are we still talking about this between us brothers? Big brother thinks highly of you. Although President Hua was smiling, there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. That drug, won't it be found out? After laughing, Gui Jianchao suddenly asked with some worry. Of course not. The latest technology in the United States. Even the FBI can't find out. President Hua said with certainty. Oh. Let's do this. I will go back first. You can come back later. Otherwise, they will be suspicious. Gui Jianchao said happily. Looking at Gui Jianchao's back, President Hua sneered, the latest technology in the United States. I spent 50 yuan to buy it at the roadside sex shop. It would be weird if the FBI couldn't find it out. Not to mention the FBI, any hospital can test it out. Little brat, I have something on you in the future. Do you think I will be afraid that you won't listen to me? In the lilac private room. Young Ming, what kind of attitude is this? Did you forget what I told you before? Yang Li reminded him softly. I am like this now. Isn't it what you want? Yang Ming sneered. See if I don't complain to uncle. Yang Li threatened. Okay, then I will tell uncle that you forced me to pretend to be Sun Jie's boyfriend. Yang Ming smiled. You. Yang Li wanted to say something, but the door of the private room was pushed open. Gui Jianchao walked in with a smile. Yang Li and Sun Jia were puzzled. This guy had a sad face when he went out. Why was he smiling when he came back? They saw Gui Jianchao take a bottle of red wine from the wine rack behind him. Then he said, the atmosphere of today's banquet isn't good. Sun Jia, do you want to change to some red wine? It's best not to drink if you don't want to die. Yang Ming reminded Sun Jia faintly. Die? What do you mean? Sun Jia was stunned. Yang Ming frowned. Why is this woman's understanding ability so bad? But Yang Ming couldn't say what he saw just now, right? But fortunately, he was smarter. He said casually, you drove here. Why are you drinking wine? Seeing Yang Ming frown, Sun Jia's competitive mentality began to play tricks again. She whispered, it's okay. A glass of red wine is not a problem. Her tone was somewhat sarcastic. It meant that she was saying, are you afraid of death? Yang Ming saw that Sun Jia treated his kindness as malice. He was furious. Motherfucker, I'm doing it for your own good. If you want to drink, then drink. If anything happens, don't blame me for not reminding you. Gui Jianchao took 2 new goblets from the cabinet. He handed one to Yang Li and the other to Sun Jia. However, at the bottom of Sun Jia's cup, Gui Jianchao sprinkled a transparent powder on it inadvertently. The lights in the private room were already dim. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't see it. Not to mention that Gui Jianchao directly filled the wine, so Sun Jia didn't find out about it. However, Yang Ming looked at all this coldly. He was thinking about the last sentence that President Hua said to herself. A glass of red wine was really nothing for Sun Jia. Her alcohol tolerance was very high. Which woman in the business world couldn't drink? Gui Jianchao saw that Sun Jia put the empty wine glass on the table. He was very happy. Let's stop here today. We will go to karaoke later. President Hua has already booked a private room. We will go when he comes back. Here. President Hua is back. Chapter 158. Everyone, I'm sorry. I smoked a cigarette. President Hua smiled. Is everyone done eating? Not bad. Not bad. Vice President Liao smiled and nodded. Yang Li and Sun Jie didn't speak, but they nodded. Well, let's stop here. I booked a big KTV room upstairs. Let's sing and relax. President Hua said. Looking at Sun Jie's slightly red face, Yang Ming shook his head. Obviously, the drug had taken effect, but he didn't know when it would take effect. It was no wonder that Sun Jie didn't take precautions. The people who usually ate with her had a certain identity. They were either officials or the bosses of various companies. Who would be so shameless to do such a dirty thing? Besides, Sun Jie's identity and background were there. Who dared to bully her? Unless they didn't want to live. However, there was someone who didn't want to live. This person was Gu Jianchao. Gu Jianchao was still young and impetuous. He was a vice president of a big company at the age of 29. It was inevitable that he would be proud. Also, he was instigated by President Hua, so he used the trick of drugging regardless of the consequences. He thought too simply. He thought that as long as he fucked Sun Jia until she screamed, this woman would be obedient. Gu Jianchao was very confident in his own bed skills. He was very precocious. He was a frequent customer of some bath centers in high school. He also practiced his bed skills. When he was in university, Gu Jianchao tricked the prettiest girl in his school to go to the hotel and forced himself on her. At first, this little girl was crying. Gu Jianchao played with her for 3 days. In the end, this little girl's attitude toward him changed 180 degrees. Therefore, Gu Jianchao was extremely confident in himself. Indeed, this trick was effective on some women, but it didn't represent all. Gu Jianchao was a bit overboard. The nightless club's KTV was luxuriously decorated. It was said that the sound system was all imported from Korea. The TV was also the most popular 52-inch HD LCD. President Hua booked a big room with 2 separate lounges and bathrooms. In other words, people who were tired from singing could go in to rest. Of course, the price wasn't cheap. It was almost the price of a suite in a 5-star hotel. Yang Ming was not interested in pop songs. Instead, he liked classic songs. Luo Dayo, Fei Xiang, and Jing Shihua were his favorites. Looking at Gu Jianchao and Yang Li singing pop songs, Yang Ming felt that it was a bit unpleasant. He picked up the Zongnanhai on the table and held one in his mouth. If you want to smoke, go outside. Do you want to suffocate us to death? Yang Li was a little unhappy. I'm singing. It's suffocating. Yang Ming really wanted to slap her. Others didn't say anything, but she was the only one who was so troublesome. Do you think I'm willing to stay here? Your wails and howls are worse than a cat's meow. Yang Ming stood up and walked out of the door. However, halfway through, he turned back. There was a washroom here. Why would he go outside? Yang Ming didn't turn on the lights. He pushed the door open and walked in. He opened the bathroom window and stared outside. At this moment, the outside was already brightly lit. Yang Ming looked at the city that never sleeps, known as Hong Kong in the north, and sighed with emotion. Since I inadvertently helped an old man, I obtained a special ability. Then, I was really like the male protagonists in those YY novels. I had a lot of romantic encounters, but the corresponding troubles also increased. Is this the so-called chance to change one's life? My own encounters have changed, and the trajectory of my life has also changed. If it was before he obtained the special ability, Yang Ming would definitely not pursue Qin Mengyan. After all, he didn't have the confidence. If he didn't pursue Chen Mengyan, then he wouldn't have a feud with Wang Jitao. Then, he wouldn't have met Lin Jiyun. Correspondingly, without the special ability, Yang Ming couldn't copy Zhang Bin's paper without a single mistake. Zhao Ying wouldn't ask him to go to the office, and there wouldn't be the later tutoring. All of this was thanks to the special ability. Including this time when he came out with his cousin, Yang Li, it was the same. If he didn't have the special ability, then he definitely wouldn't be able to get into university. Yang Li wouldn't let him come to her house. After Yang Li sang 2 songs, the alcohol kicked in. She closed her eyes and fell into a deep sleep. Vice President Liao left first because he had something to do. Before he left, he apologized to Sun Jia. Because Yang Ming wasn't present, he asked her to talk to Yang Ming. President Hua and Guo Jianchao were very contemptuous of Vice President Liao's move. He was just a little punk. Was there a need to pay so much attention to him? When the two saw that Vice President Liao left and Yang Li fell asleep, they were delighted. Now that Yang Ming wasn't here, then if Sun Jia's drug took effect, it would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Guo Jianchao. Sun Jia felt that her whole body was getting hotter and hotter, and there was a strange feeling. Sun Jia was very clear about this feeling. It was sexual desire. She wasn't the kind of girl who abstained from sexual desires. She could usually vent from time to time. Therefore, Sun Jia felt that it was strange to have sexual desire at this time. In this situation, it was impossible to have such a feeling. Sun Jia frowned and clamped her legs tightly. She tried not to think in that direction, but the more she tried not to think about it, the more she thought about it. Sun Jia licked her somewhat dry lips and couldn't help but alternate her legs left and right. Guo Jianchao naturally saw Sun Jia's uneasiness. He looked at President Hua, and both of them were delighted. Seeing that Sun Jia's breathing was getting more and more rapid, Guo Jianchao asked, kindly, Sun Jia, what's wrong with you? Sun Jia clenched her teeth and shook her head. She tried to suppress her desire, but it didn't work. In the past, when Sun Jia had desires, she would be restrained by herself. But this time, this desire was not only uncontrollable, but it seemed to be getting stronger and stronger. There is a rest room here. Why don't you take a rest? Guo Jianchao continued to kindly suggest. Sun Jia couldn't stand it. If she didn't solve it, she would die. Sun Jia glanced at the rest room. She hesitated, but she still walked in the direction of the bathroom. After all, it was more convenient in the bathroom than in the rest room. She wouldn't have her secretions everywhere and be seen by others. Sun Jia turned on the light. After entering the bathroom, she directly locked the door. Then, she couldn't wait to lift up her skirt and take off her underwear. She pulled the skirt with one hand and quickly stroked her private part with the other hand. Yang Ming was almost shocked. Isn't this woman Sun Jia too fierce? In the restroom of a KTV, he actually touched himself as if no one was around. Didn't she see that there was another person next to her? In fact, Sun Jia couldn't be blamed. When Yang Ming entered the bathroom, he didn't turn on the light, so no one noticed him. Now, Sun Jia had been blinded by her desire. She just wanted to vent it quickly. Her eyes were half closed. She didn't think that there was someone next to her. Fuck. He actually went into the bathroom. Guo Jianchao was very upset. Did he go in and touch himself? If so, wouldn't it be a waste of time? Hee, younger brother Guo, aren't you anxious? President Hua shook his head calmly. This drug can't be solved by herself. The more she touches, the stronger her desire is. Maybe she will take the initiative to come out and ask for sex with you, younger brother. Really? Guo Jianchao was overjoyed. Then I'm relieved. Of course, the things in the United States aren't just for show. President Hua nodded. He was right. Although this drug was only 50 yuan, it was a banned-strong aphrodisiac called "Even Women Can Be Lascivious." The woman who took this drug had a clear mind, but her body was out of control. President Hua was right. Sun Jia was feeling this way now. She felt that the liquid in her lower body flowed out like tap water. No matter how she stroked it, there was always a feeling of not being able to quench her thirst. It made her very uncomfortable to go up and down. I really want to find a man and do it with him. A thought flashed in Sun Jia's mind. Sun Jia couldn't help but be shocked. Although I often have desires, I have never thought of doing it with a man. What happened to me today? However, this kind of reason was immediately covered by boundless desire. Sun Jia's mind couldn't help but flash a bunch of men's images. Sun Jia didn't have a good impression of men, especially a suitor like Guo Jianchao. Therefore, these people just flashed in her mind and didn't stay for long. Yes, Sun Jia hated all the other men except for her own family. These men weren't good people. What they coveted was her family background. But in the end, when the image of Yang Ming flashed, Sun Jia unexpectedly found that this image didn't disappear immediately. Instead, it was like it was imprinted in her mind. In fact, Sun Jia was pitiful enough. So far, except for Yang Ming, she found that she didn't even have a partner to fantasize about. Originally, she only focused on solving the physical desire, but now it seemed that simply solving the physical desire wasn't feasible. Chapter 159. Women Are Crazy Too had a feature. It could cause people to have slight sexual fantasies to a certain extent. Of course, the object of this fantasy must be a man. This was also why President Hua wasn't worried, because the boss who sold the drug had already told him. You can rest assured that even a lesbian can think of a man. In this way, he wasn't afraid that Sun Jia would call the police. After all, this drug only stimulated people's sexual desire, but they were still conscious. In the end, it was Sun Jia who took the initiative to seduce Guo Jianchao. This matter couldn't be explained clearly. However, Guo Jianchao was very worried. After all, this was his first time doing this kind of thing. Drugging. If this matter wasn't handled well, he would have to answer for the rest of his life. Brother Hua, do you think Sun Jia really won't report me? Guo Jianchao said with concern. He was a standard grassroots. His parents were workers. His position today was entirely based on his own shameless flattery. Of course, as a finance graduate from a university, he still had a certain ability. Otherwise, he wouldn't be entrusted with such a heavy responsibility. And it was precisely because of his despicable and shameless character that he got the appreciation of Wang Jitao's father, Wang Shifan, and was regarded as his confidant. If Sun Jia reported him and he went to jail, he would lose everything he had now and reach a point of no return. Yes, after he was released from prison, there probably wouldn't be any company that would dare to hire him. Now, although he wasn't living the life of the top, he belonged to the category of the upper class. Was it necessary to take this risk? Brother Jianchao, this is what you don't understand, right? President Hua laughed. The Sun family is also a famous family. With such a scandal, would they choose to report it to the police? Now, the media is everywhere. But, even if Sun Jia didn't report it to the police, what if she retaliated against me afterward? Guo Jianchao was still worried. You are stupid. President Hua pointed in the direction of the lounge and said, I have already installed a pinhole camera for you. When you have the video in hand, are you still afraid that she won't obey? That's right. Ha ha ha, I guess she doesn't want to be the next focus of the porn scene. Guo Jianchao laughed. Brother Hua, you are so thoughtful. That's right. With our relationship, How can I not help you? President Hua nodded generously and thought, with this, not only do I have Sun Jie's weakness, but I also have your weakness. At that time, do you still need to listen to me? President Hua, I, Gui Jianchao, am truly fortunate to have met you. You really are the guiding light in my life. Gui Jianchao said sincerely. These were his heartfelt words. After meeting President Hua at a cocktail party, the two of them chatted happily and became very good friends. After that, President Hua not only introduced him to a lot of big shots, but also often gave him advice on his work, giving him a lot of help. This was very rare for a college student who had just entered society. Thus, the two of them each had their own ulterior motives, each dreaming their own grand dreams, waiting for something good to happen. However, they never dreamed that there was another man in the bathroom. This man was the little punk he hated so much, Yang Ming. Perhaps it was because Yang Ming and she just met, and she didn't hate Yang Ming, so this man who had no interest with her quickly occupied her heart that was full of desire. Yes, over the years, there was no lack of outstanding men around Sun Jie, but these people all valued her family background. Even if it wasn't, Sun Jie would subconsciously think so. However, the Yang Ming she saw today was different. The calm and indifferent attitude on Yang Ming's face made Sun Jie look at the man with a proper eye again. Perhaps it was because Yang Ming was Yang Li's cousin and was younger than her, so she subconsciously treated him as a younger brother. That was why she didn't have any conflict when they first met. Facing her own family, Sun Jie didn't have any hostility. It was because of this mentality that Sun Jie made an exception to tease Yang Ming, like a big sister teasing her younger brother. Even later, when Yang Ming touched her thigh, Sun Jie also thought that it was just a rebellious action of a little kid who had never experienced women. If it were other men who pursued Sun Jie, who would dare to touch her thighs so casually? It was also because of this psychological barrier that Sun Jie thought of Yang Ming at this moment. Ah! Yang Ming! Harder! Sun Jie muttered softly as she solved it herself. As soon as this was said, Sun Jie suddenly had a sense of extreme excitement. Am I a little perverted? Yang Ming is younger than me. However, the feeling of fantasizing that my hand was Yang Ming's was really exciting. Yang Ming heard Sun Jie's unintentional moan and suddenly sweated. No way. Am I so charming? Your sexual fantasy object is actually me. Yang Ming didn't feel that he had any domineering aura. Could it be that they were interested in each other? Yang Ming didn't know Sun Jie's real thoughts. He was still complacent here. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel itchy. I am going to do her now. There shouldn't be any problem, right? Motherfucker, isn't Sun Jie's posture too much? Her body leaned back against the bathroom door. Her lower body was slightly forward. She pulled the skirt with one hand and did simple regular exercises with the other. Her charming face was flushed. Her eyes were closed, and her mouth was still calling Yang Ming's name. So far, the only woman that Yang Ming had an impression of seeing naked was Lan Ling. Although Lan Ling was also very open in sex and was very wild, it was the wildness in innocence. Sun Jie was the wildness in maturity. One was a lowly, and the other was a royal sister. The two were completely different concepts. Therefore, Yang Ming was dumbfounded at the moment. Yang Ming. Sun Jie kept accelerating the speed and strength of her hands, but there was no sign of reaching the peak. Although the happiness was strong, it was still missing something. Suddenly, a cell phone ringtone sounded. Yang Ming was shocked. My God, why didn't I set the vibration mode just now? Sun Jie was also stunned. Then, she took out the cell phone from her pocket. Just as she wanted to cut it off, she realized that this wasn't her cell phone ringtone. I am using Motorola. How can the Nokia tune that is exclusive to Nokia appear? Sun Jia was shocked and quickly looked in the direction of Yang Ming. When she saw Yang Ming, her face was full of shock. Her eyes and mouth were wide open. She just wanted to ask why Yang Ming was here, but the endless desire in her body attacked her again. Just now, because she was holding the phone, Sun Jia had to stop the movement of her hands. Therefore, Sun Jia's body began to protest. Sun Jia had to close her eyes and continue to move her hands quickly. Her eyes are wide open. She didn't see me. When Yang Ming saw that Sun Jia actually continued to touch herself in front of him, he almost fell over. Yang Ming. Sun Jia knew that Yang Ming was in front of her, but her mouth still couldn't help but call out his name. Right, isn't Yang Ming in front of me? Suddenly, a bold idea came into Sun Jia's mind. No, but how can this be? The remaining poor consciousness in Sun Jia's heart was once again drowned by the desire of her body. Sun Jia stumbled toward Yang Ming and hugged Yang Ming's body. Kiss me. Yang Ming wasn't a gentleman. Although he disdained to do something vulgar and despicable to force a woman to sleep with him, there was no reason not to do something that was delivered to him, right? What's more, Yang Ming thought, you took the initiative to ask for sex with me. What does it have to do with me? What? You said that you were drugged. Well, I have already reminded you not to drink, but you didn't listen. Who can you blame? Although Sun Jia said that she wanted Yang Ming to kiss her, in fact, she was kissing Yang Ming. Yang Ming was naturally unwilling to fall behind. He immediately responded enthusiastically. Sun Jia's two small hands quickly pulled down Yang Ming's shorts. It was also a coincidence that Yang Ming wore elastic shorts today. There was no belt, so Sun Jia easily succeeded. If he changed to trousers, Sun Jia would have to spend some effort. Wait. Yang Ming pushed Sun Jia away. Chapter 160. Don't. Sun Jia didn't let go of Yang Xiao'er. Although Yang Ming wasn't against one-night stands, he couldn't not consider safety. In this era of AIDS and STDs, Yang Ming didn't want to be impulsive. Besides, Yang Ming was a bit of a male chauvinist. In his opinion, a woman's past wasn't important. Even if she wasn't a virgin, Yang Ming wouldn't look down on her. But once he had a relationship with her, he would want to be the woman's last man. He couldn't tolerate that this woman would cheat on him in the future. Therefore, Yang Ming had to be prepared in advance to avoid this situation. For example, Sun Jia. Yang Ming couldn't understand this woman at all. Even someone as strong as Yang Ming couldn't guarantee that he could take Sun Jia down in the future. That was because this woman was too mysterious and too strange. The only solution Yang Ming could think of was to wear a condom. In this way, Yang Ming could say that he was just doing it with a condom. This condom couldn't cheat on him, right? In fact, this idea was a bit of self-deception. However, Yang Ming's extreme male chauvinism was also an idea. High-end KTV was good. Otherwise, Yang Ming really couldn't get off. When he entered the bathroom, Yang Ming saw 2 condoms and a few bags of shampoo for men and women on the shelf next to the bathtub. Yang Ming reached for a condom and tore open the wrapping paper. Sun Jia saw that Yang Ming was going to use a condom. She frowned slightly and said softly, "Don't use that. I'm very clean." With Sun Jia's intelligence, she naturally thought of Yang Ming's concerns. Sun Jia was a bit bitter. Who asked her to be so lustful? This kid probably thought that she was a slut who couldn't be choosy. Yang Ming was stunned. Very clean. Sweat, which woman would say that she was sick? Yang Ming didn't listen to her. With his experience with Lan Ling, Yang Ming put on the condom with ease. AI. Sun Jia sighed faintly. Yang Ming was taller than Sun Jia by a head. The two people stood face to face. This posture was difficult enough. Yang Ming had to squat and pick Sun Jia up with his hands. Even though Yang Ming's body was very strong, he couldn't hold on for long. Yang Ming looked around and directly carried Sun Jia to the platform of the sink. Half an hour later, Yang Ming was exhausted. Doing it in the bathroom, although it brought a different sense of excitement and novelty, it was really tiring. It was no wonder that those who tried it once gave up on the second try. Sun Jia, who had vented, had a refreshing feeling all over her body. She really wanted to sleep, but she knew that she couldn't. There were still people waiting outside. Sun Jia, who regained her calmness, quietly glanced at the man who hugged her and breathed heavily. He was a very handsome man with a lot of personality. It was just that he was a little young. Otherwise, he seemed to be a good candidate for a boyfriend. Women were like this. They always had a very complicated feeling for men who had sex with them. Of course, rape was an exception. Sun Jia shook her head. She was still very realistic. She didn't regret this kind of thing. Sun Jia wasn't the kind of person who valued chastity very much. Otherwise, she wouldn't have broken the membrane early. Although Sun Jia wouldn't deliberately keep her chastity for the illusory husband in the future, she was the kind of person who would keep her chastity for her lover. It sounded very contradictory, but in fact, it wasn't. In other words, once Sun Jia really fell in love with someone, then she would keep her chastity for that person forever. Therefore, Sun Jia was still very open-minded about what happened now. She felt that if she really fell in love with someone one day in the future, she wouldn't hide anything. After all, today's matter was a bit strange. If that person couldn't even understand this, then this person wasn't worthy of Sun Jia's love. Now, Sun Jia could also seriously consider the whole story of this matter. She wasn't stupid. Her situation today was definitely not a normal physiological reaction. This feeling was something she had never felt before. Therefore, the only possibility was that she fell into a trap. Sun Jia calmly made a general analysis of today's series of events in the association. The first was Yang Ming, who had sex with her. From a common-sense point of view, he was the most suspicious, but Sun Jia ruled him out first. Why? There were many reasons. First of all, Yang Ming just met today. In other words, coming here with her was completely spontaneous. There was no preparation in advance. Yang Ming couldn't always carry an aphrodisiac with him all the time, right? Secondly, Yang Ming didn't know that she would go to the bathroom before. It seemed unreasonable for him to wait for her in the bathroom, right? There were 2 lounges here. Why did she have to go to the bathroom? The most important point was that Sun Jia recalled Yang Ming's words at the wine table. That was, if you don't want to die, it's best not to drink. At that time, Yang Ming must have seen something. He was reminding me. However, this guy is really too much. Can't he speak more clearly? He made me AI. However, it also led to an important person, and that was Guo Jianchao. That meant that Guo Jianchao handed it to her, and that glass of wine was also poured by Guo Jianchao. Sun Jia was more certain of this when she noticed Guo Jianchao's attitude toward her in the past in the association. Well, it turned out that it was you who did it. You dare to drug me. You really want to die too slowly. With this clear thought, Sun Jia breathed a sigh of relief. However, it also made Yang Ming's position in her heart go one step further. This man seems to have a very keen insight. Sun Jia looked at Yang Ming with a deep meaning and shook her head. Now it was time to deal with the matter in front of her. Sun Jia gently broke away from Yang Ming's arms. Hurry up and clean up. There are still people outside. Yang Ming was enjoying Sun Jie's huge chest. He was a little reluctant to be pushed away. You hugged me tightly when you wanted it. Now that you're done, you're pushing me away. This made Yang Ming very uncomfortable. However, what Sun Jie said was also a fact. Yang Li was still outside. If she found out something and ran to my parents, then I would be in deep trouble. He didn't know why, but Yang Ming felt that although it was very tiring, it was the most refreshing. He didn't know if it was because of the excitement of having an affair, or because of Sun Jie's hot body and huge chest, or because there were people waiting outside in the bathroom. In short, this kind of excitement made Yang Ming unforgettable. The two people quickly cleaned up the battlefield and put on their clothes. After wrapping the toilet paper and condoms full of that, they put it in the sewer and washed it away. Sun Jie was a woman, so it was more troublesome. She had to touch up her makeup in front of the mirror. Yang Ming was simple. He just washed his face and it was done. Seeing that there were no flaws, the two were ready to go out. Sun Jie. Yang Ming felt that he should say something. Don't say anything. Sun Jie said faintly, don't we all need each other? After we go out, just pretend that nothing happened. Although Sun Jie couldn't forget the feeling of ecstasy, she was a very rational person. Once she wasn't driven by the drug, she also recovered her usual calmness. She knew that there was almost no possibility between her and Yang Ming. Not to mention the age gap, the gap between their identities was too big. Yang Ming was still a student. I know. Yang Ming frowned after listening. He was very uncomfortable in his heart. You are still arrogant. It was no wonder that Yang Ming would be angry. These words were really hurtful coming from a woman's mouth. Yang Ming felt that he was a failure. Motherfucker, am I a tool for you to vent your anger? How could Sun Jie not hear the dissatisfaction in Yang Ming's words? She smiled faintly at him. This isn't the first time, right? It seems that I really underestimated you. Aren't you the same? We're the same. Yang Ming said sarcastically. Sun Jie listened to Yang Ming's words, and her face sank. She wanted to say something, but she hesitated. She sighed, opened the door of the bathroom and walked out. Yang Ming was a bit inexplicable. You did it, but you don't let me say it. In the private room, Gu Jianchao and President Hua saw that the door of the bathroom was finally opened. They were very happy. In their heart they thought, this Sun Jie can really hold it in. But she finally couldn't hold it in, right? But when they saw Yang Ming behind Sun Jie, they were suddenly dumbfounded. Gu Jianchao's mouth opened so wide that an egg could be stuffed in. Why is that little punk in the bathroom? Chapter 161. Gu Jianchao and President Hua had been waiting there. They looked at the watch. It has been more than half an hour. Why hasn't she come out yet? Gu Jianchao was a little worried. Brother Hua, do you think Sun Jie really solved it herself? Logically, it shouldn't be. But it has been more than half an hour. She can really hold it in. President Hua also frowned. Could it be that the boss who sold the healthcare products lied to him? It should be impossible. The boss is the brother of his brother's mistress's ex-girlfriend. Logically, he shouldn't lie, right? Besides, it's not like I can't afford it. There's no reason to fool me with a fake product. Besides, I didn't bargain at all. So when the door of the bathroom opened, Gu Jianchao and President Hua were happy. But when they saw Yang Ming who came out, their faces weren't so good. You too. Gu Jianchao opened his mouth in surprise and pointed at Sun Jie and Yang Ming. At this moment, Sun Jie's face was rosy with a slight bright luster. She didn't look like she was dissatisfied. Instead, she looked like she had been moisturized. Her face was full of satisfaction. Hee, I'm sorry. I feel a little uncomfortable. I just drank a glass of wine and vomited. My boyfriend has been taking care of me. Sun Jie smiled and explained. So that's the case. Is it serious? Gui Jinchao's eyes flashed with anger. Could this Yang Ming really be Sun Jie's boyfriend? Or was it a stroke of luck that allowed him to pick up a bargain? But now that Sun Jie was so happy, it seemed to be the first case. Drunk? People who knew Sun Jie knew her alcohol tolerance. How could she get drunk with a small glass of red wine? Sun Jie knew what they did in the bathroom. Gui Jinchao, as the person who drugged her, must know better. It was just that they didn't expose each other. Don't worry, Vice President Gua. I'm fine. Sun Jie smiled and said. Oh. Really? Gui Jinchao's heart was very uncomfortable. He raised the wine glass on the table and drank the wine inside. Sorry, Sun Jie. I have something to do. I'll leave first. Gui Jinchao no longer had the mood to stay here. He stumbled out of the door of the private room. President Hua looked at Gui Jinchao's back and shook his head. This kid is still too young. Why is he so impulsive? After Gui Jinchao left, President Hua couldn't continue to stay here. So, he got up and found an excuse to leave. At this time, Yang Li also woke up, but she didn't know what happened. She opened her eyes in a daze. Sun Jie, they all left. And they are all gone. Let's go, too. Sun Jie nodded. Oh. Yang Li rubbed her eyes and saw that Yang Ming was still standing there stupidly. She was a little angry. Why haven't you left yet? That. Calm. B.A.I. Looking at Yang Ming's back as he left, Sun Jie sighed again. Then, she pretended to be casual and chatted with Yang Li. Li, your cousin is very interesting. Him. Interesting. Yang Li snorted at Sun Jie's statement. Does he have a girlfriend? Sun Jie asked. Gui Jinchao's dissatisfaction reached the extreme. What is this? How can a little punk have Sun Jie? I am the vice president of the Xiongfeng group. What is wrong with her? Gui Jinchao walked and searched for a target. Yes, he now had an evil fire in his heart that needed to be vented. The quality of the girls in the nightless club was good. He was ready to take one back and have some fun. A woman who passed by with a fruit plate made Gui Jinchao's eyes light up. Too flirtatious. The place that should be big was big, and the place that should be small was small. When she walked, her little butt was swaying. It was as sexy as it could be. This made Gui Jinchao, who had just been heartbroken, have a desire to burn. Gui Jinchao reached out and stopped the girl who was carrying the fruit plate. Miss, do you have an appointment tonight? Sir, you drank too much. The woman avoided Gui Jinchao's perverted hand without leaving a trace. She said faintly, if you want to call her a miss, I can help you contact her. Call her a miss. Aren't you a miss? Gui Jinchao reached out again and wanted to grab the arm of the beauty in front of him. Sir, please conduct yourself with dignity. The woman didn't get angry, but reminded Gui Jinchao again. This isn't your first time at the nightless club. You should be clear about the rules here. A miss is a miss, and a waiter is a waiter. Guests can't force a waiter to leave unless the waiter is willing. Willing? You are afraid that I won't give you money, right? Let me tell you, I have money. Gui Jinchao said, it's you. Name a price. Sir, I am working. If you insist on keeping me, then you have to consider the consequences. This time, the woman was a little angry. Consequences? What consequences can there be? Are you threatening me? Gui Jianchao was a little annoyed. It's fine if Sun Jia doesn't agree with me, but you are a nightclub waiter. Why are you pretending to be badass in front of me? Sir, I don't mean to threaten you. The rules of the Nightless Club are like this. I hope you can abide by it so that we can live in peace. The woman frowned and said. Ha! Look at how badass you are. Let me tell you, I have my eyes on you. Today, I will take you away. If it was a normal situation, Gui Jianchao wouldn't have lost his self-control. The reason why this happened was that Sun Jia hit him too hard today. Secondly, the glass of wine before leaving was too strong. He drank too much, so he was a little tipsy. Sir, if you are like this again, I will call for help. The woman made a final warning. Call for help. Okay, I am here to spend money. I am God. You call for help. I don't believe that the Nightless Club will go against money. I am not afraid to tell you that I am the vice president of the Xiongfeng Group. I have a lot of money. As Gui Jianchao said this, he hugged the woman in front of him and started to touch her body. You! Someone come! The woman shouted, but just as she shouted half a sentence, her mouth was covered by Gui Jianchao. In fact, the other waiters who passed by had already informed the security room of the situation here. Brother Bao. Something happened in the KTV private room. A waiter said to a man with a fierce face. What happened? Brother Bao was playing cards with his underlings. When he heard that something happened, he immediately threw away the cards in his hand. Brother Bao was the security captain here. Of course, this was an external title. In fact, he was an underworld member who looked after the place. Some of the bigger nightclubs, in order to make their business prosperous so that the guests could safely spend money here, they would pay some people from the underworld to come here. No matter if the guests or the hooligans were making trouble, these people would come forward to solve it. Of course, the fee was much higher than the average security guard. Brother Bao understood the principle of taking someone's money and solving a problem for them. So, when he heard that something happened, he immediately stopped the entertainment in his hand and asked very seriously. The KTV waiter, Xiao Jiao, was entangled by a drunk guest in the corridor. He wanted to take her out, but Xiao Jiao refused. As a result, the guest began to take liberties with her. The waiter who came in said, Xiao Jiao. Brother Bao shook his head. There were too many people here. He couldn't know everyone, but it didn't matter whether he knew them or not. As long as this Xiao Jiao was a waiter here, then Brother Bao must stand up for her. This was what he had to do to look after the place, and it was also his job. Xiao Jiao didn't tell that person the rules here. She did, but the guest didn't listen. The waiter said, Okay. Brother Bao nodded, then pointed to a few underlings who were playing cards together and said, You guys come with me to take a look. Yes, Brother Bao. A few people stood up and followed Brother Bao outside. What is the identity of that person? Brother Bao asked as usual as he walked. After all, the Nightless Club was one of the most luxurious places to spend money in Songjiang City. The guests who could come here to play had a lot of identity and background. They couldn't be easily offended. Just like last time, a guest made trouble here, and Brother Bao wasn't there that day. As a result, Brother Bao's underlings directly broke the troublemaker's leg without distinguishing between right and wrong. This was like poking a hornet's nest. The troublemaker was the only son of the underworld boss of Shanghai City, a prefecture-level city on the edge of Songjiang City. Because of this, Brother Bao and his underlings fought 3 times with the underworld of Shanghai City. both sides suffered heavy losses. Therefore, some things were best to ask clearly in advance to avoid worse consequences. Just like the previous incident, if he knew the identity of the other party in advance, he could only scare the other party. It was impossible to break his leg. Therefore, there were different ways to treat different people. Chapter 162. According to him, he is the vice president of Xiongfeng Group. The waiter said. Vice president. So he's a worker. A sinister smile appeared on Brother Leopard's face. Yang Ming opened the door of the private room and was about to leave. Suddenly, he saw a familiar figure walking past him. That person obviously didn't notice Yang Ming, but Yang Ming saw him clearly. Yang Ming quickly caught up and patted the person's back. Brother Bao. Although Brother Bao had a few fights with Shuanghai's boss, his reputation in the underworld had risen. Now, Brother Bao's reputation in Songjiang City could be said to be like the sun in the sky. Brother Bao was Bao Sanli, the one who shared a cell with Yang Ming in the detention center. Therefore, how many people dared to pat his shoulder now? Brother Bao felt that someone had patted him, and he was about to get angry. But when he turned around and saw the person, he immediately showed a happy expression. Brother Yang, how come it's you? What a coincidence, Brother Bao. Why are you here? Seeing an old acquaintance, Yang Ming was naturally very enthusiastic. The two of them had gone through thick and thin together. I don't have a proper job. After I was released, I was here to look after the place. I heard from the waiter that there was a guest causing trouble. I am going to take a look. Brother Bao said. Then you go quickly. I won't disturb your business. I will find you another day. Knowing that Bao Sanli had a proper business to do, Yang Ming didn't dare to delay him. It's okay. Come with me. What are you afraid of with your skills? Brother Bao hooked Yang Ming's shoulder and pushed him forward. Okay, Brother Bao, I will go with you. You should let go of me quickly. If others don't know, they will think that we are broken backs. That's disgusting. Yang Ming quickly pushed away Bao Sanli's hand. Hee, who dares to say? Although Bao Sanli said so, he still took his hand away. He was still afraid of Yang Ming. This kid was really violent when he hit people. You're doing well. Yang Ming reached out and touched Bao Sanli's tie. It's from Jinli. You brat, are you serious? Hee, isn't this what I learned from you, Brother Yang? Only by being ruthless can one gain a foothold in the underworld. Thinking back to the past, it was really laughable. He was sent to the detention center after beating up a few people. Now, he's completely fine. Bao Sanli said with emotion, the boss here also has some skills. I stand up for him. As long as I don't kill people, he can usually come forward to settle it. I say, Brother Yang, if you are in this world, you will definitely do better than me. Me? Hee, I'd better study hard in my university. Yang Ming smiled and shook his head. If he wanted to, he would have continued to do so. There was no need to go to school. The two of them chatted and laughed as they arrived at the scene of the accident. At this time, Gui Jianchao was reaching under the skirt of the woman called Xiao Jiao. Ha! Why is it him? When Yang Ming saw that it was Gui Jianchao, he couldn't help but be surprised. Just that, isn't this guy's vision a bit too bad? This chick has nothing to praise except for her good figure. Her face is like a shoehorn. Yang Ming was sweating profusely. Why, Brother Yang, do you know him? Bao Sanli stopped and asked in a low voice. If this person is Yang Ming's friend, then Bao Sanli must give him face. Not to mention that Yang Ming is a person that Bao Sanli respects. Even if he were to go against Yang Ming, he, Bao Sanli, couldn't win against Yang Ming. Although he wasn't afraid of a group fight, if Yang Ming were to do something behind his back, he couldn't stand it. Of course, Bao Sanli didn't even think about going against Yang Ming. The feelings in prison were second only to the 3 iron in today's society. I know him. I just had a meal with this idiot. Yang Ming's tone had a hint of sarcasm. Bao Sanli immediately understood. Listening to this tone, it seems that Brother Yang and this kid have a grudge, so he said, "Brother Yang, you know this person. What do you think?" "What do I say? What did you decide to do?" Yang Ming asked. "Kick him out and throw him on the road," Bao Sanli said. Kick him out. Isn't that too easy on him?" Yang Ming said to himself. Bao Sanli listened. This isn't an ordinary grudge. Then it's easy to handle. Who doesn't know how to hit harder? So he said, "It's not a problem to break both of his legs as long as Brother Yang feels relieved." Break both of his legs? No. Yang Ming shook his head. He was no longer the reckless Yang Ming from a while ago. Sometimes beating up your enemy wasn't the best solution. He had to think of a way to punish the other party and get benefits from himself. "Brother Yang, do you think it's too cruel?" Bao Sanli thought that Yang Ming felt that breaking both of his legs was too cruel. "It's not cruel, but breaking his legs doesn't give me any substantial benefits." Speaking of this, Yang Ming suddenly remembered what he saw, President Hua's words just now. If he caught the other party's weakness, he wouldn't be afraid that he wouldn't listen to him in the future. Thinking of this, Yang Ming suddenly had a flash of inspiration. "Brother Bao, you follow my method later, no problem. It's a piece of cake. Leave it to your brother. Just watch." Bao Sanli patted his chest and promised, "Brother Yang, this move of yours is really insidious. That kid is going to have bad luck tonight. Fists aren't the way to solve everything. Sometimes the brain is also very important." Yang Ming felt that he was more comprehensive than before, so he couldn't help but say proudly, "Brother Yang is right. It's a pity that you don't come out." Bao Sanli nodded. Yang Ming sweated. "Why do you always want to drag me into this?" At this moment, Bao Sanli walked over and shouted as he walked, "What's going on? Who's making trouble here? Brother Bao. Save me." Xiao Jiao heard Brother Bao's voice. It was as if she saw her savior and shouted for help. It's Xiao Jiao. Bao Sanli walked over quickly and grabbed Guo Jinchao's collar and shouted, "You motherfucker, how dare you flirt with my girl? You don't want to live anymore." As he said this, he gave Xiao Jiao a look. The waiters here were all smart people. They served the customers every day and learned the skill of observing. At this moment, Xiao Jiao saw the look that Bao Sanli gave her and immediately understood. Brother Bao was looking for a reason for her action this time. In fact, Xiao Jiao misunderstood. Why would Bao Sanli need a reason to beat someone? "You. Who are you?" When Guo Jianchao saw the man in front of him who didn't look like a good person, he immediately sobered up. "Who am I? I am the security captain here. She is my girlfriend. I heard that you want to take her out by force." Bao Sanli stared at Guo Jianchao and asked. How could Guo Jianchao not understand? This security captain must be the underworld boss here. Otherwise, how could the security guards not wear uniforms? But the waitress named Xiao Jiao is actually his girl. It can't be such a coincidence, right? How can I be so unlucky? Although Guo Jianchao had some status in society, it was only limited to the business world and the legal world. People in the underworld wouldn't give you face. If you were the chairman, maybe they would give you some respect. But as a manager, they really wouldn't give you face. Therefore, Gu Jianchao was most afraid of meeting people in the underworld. As for why he wasn't afraid of Yang Ming before, it was because he didn't think that Yang Ming was a member of the underworld because there was an essential difference between the underworld and the little punk. He felt that Yang Ming was just a little punk on the street. There was nothing to be afraid of. But the underworld was different. Not only were they organized and disciplined, but they were also particularly vicious. Therefore, after Gu Jianchao recognized the situation, he quickly apologized. Sorry, I made a mistake. This big brother, if there is nothing else, then I will go first, go. Bao Sanli grabbed Gu Jianchao's hair and slapped him twice. You fucking touched my girlfriend and you want to leave. Do you think I don't exist? I thought she was just an ordinary waitress. Gu Jianchao was beaten until he saw stars, but he didn't dare to resist. Ordinary waitress. Even ordinary waitresses can't do it. Our nightless club has rules. Guests can't force waitresses to leave. Bao Sanli shouted, don't tell me you don't know. Gu Jianchao was a little overwhelmed. He really didn't expect that his impulse actually caused such a big consequence. But now, the other party definitely wouldn't let him go easily. He could only admit defeat. So he said dejectedly, sorry, big brother, I was wrong. You tell me what to do. Do you want me to pay for it? Pay for it? Are you fucking stupid? Why do I need money? Bao Sanli glared and punched Gu Jianchao's stomach. Do you think my girl is sold? You can touch her with money. If I fuck your wife and give you some money, are you willing? Chapter 163. Then what do you say? Gu Jianchao learned to be smart this time. He didn't dare to come up with ideas. Instead, he gave the initiative to Bao Sanli and let him say it. What should we do? Kid, let me tell you. My girl has never been touched by any man except me. Today, you are the first. You are really the first badass in the history of the Nightless Club. Bao Sanli said sarcastically, take this kid back to the office first. There are many people here. Take care of him slowly. He dared to touch the waitress. He is simply looking for death. Bao Sanli was not afraid of many people. If he was afraid of many people, he would have taken Gu Jianchao away. Now, it had attracted a lot of onlookers. Yes, Bao Sanli wanted to create this kind of momentum of killing one to warn 100. He wanted to tell those guests to let them go back and spread the news. Everyone must abide by the rules of the Nightless Club. Several underlings who came together heard the boss's words. They directly reached out and pulled Gu Jianchao in the direction of the security room. In the crowd, in a corner, Yang Ming let out a sneer. He didn't pity Gu Jianchao at all. This kind of person with a problem in character was not worthy of pity. It could be said that Gu Jianchao was purely reaping what he sowed. If he didn't drug Sun Jia, Yang Ming would not question his character. Maybe he would help him when he was troubled by Bao Sanli. But now, not only did he not want to help him, but he was ready to continue to add fuel to the fire. Gu Jianchao was pushed into the security room. A group of people rushed in. The first thing was to kick Gu Jianchao. These underlings had been following Bao Sanli for a while. They were especially good at adapting to the situation. They knew what to do just by looking at this situation. Gu Jianchao was the vice president of a company. When had he seen such a situation? He thought that the underworld would only appear on TV. Now, it was really standing by his side. Gu Jianchao was beaten until he begged for mercy. He howled like a pig being slaughtered. However, the sound insulation system of the security room was quite first class. The outside world couldn't hear it at all. After the fight, the two men grabbed Guo Jianchao's hair and lifted him up. Then, they kicked his legs and said, "Kneel." Guo Jianchao originally didn't dare to resist anymore and could only obediently kneel down. Adding on the fact that his entire body was in so much pain that he could only groan, he couldn't say a single word. At this time, the door of the security room was pushed open and a tall, thin man walked in. He saw Guo Jianchao kneeling on the ground and asked, "Who the fuck is this?" "Brother Rui, this guy is flirting with Brother Bao's girlfriend," a subordinate said. "Bao Sanli's girlfriend?" Qi Wenrui was stunned. He and Bao Sanli were close friends. How could he not know that Bao Sanli had a girlfriend? But since he said so, there must be a reason. Qi Wenrui didn't expose him, but cooperatively kicked Guo Jianchao's butt and said with a smile, "You fucking don't want to live anymore, right?" He really has a plan. "Brother, I was wrong. I didn't know that he was Brother Bao's girlfriend." I'm sorry. Guo Jianchao said quickly. "Motherfucker, what were you doing earlier?" Qi Wenrui hit Guo Jianchao's head. "It's useless to beg me. You have to tell Brother Bao." "Brother Bao, I was wrong. Please be magnanimous and forgive me. Just treat me as a fart and let me go." Guo Jianchao thought that this line was funny when he heard it. Now, he finally understood the feeling of the person who said this. "Let you go? Then wouldn't my loss be in vain?" Bao Sanli said angrily, "You should slap yourself 10 times first." "Ah." Guo Jianchao was stunned and looked at Bao Sanli with some incomprehension. "Motherfucker, Brother Bao asked you to slap yourself. Are you deaf?" One of Bao Sanli's men immediately jumped out and grabbed Guo Jianchao's hair and gave him 2 big slaps. The sound was crisp and louder than clapping hands. I will slap myself." Guo Jianchao also saw the situation clearly. It was less painful to slap himself. He couldn't let others slap him. Humph. Hurry up. The underling was too lazy to do it himself. Seeing that Guo Jianchao was so obedient, he was happy to be free. Guo Jianchao didn't dare to disobey. He clenched his teeth and slapped himself left and right. "All right, stop fucking fanning the flames. I'm annoyed just listening to it. Brother Bao, quickly deal with this brat. Delay's side is waiting for us." Qi Wenrui was a little impatient. Couldn't this kind of thing be left to his underlings? "All right then. Since you've asked, I'll let you off the hook for now. You should first write a guarantee for me. If it's good, I won't beat you. If it's not good, there will be a floating corpse at the beach today." Bao Sanli sneered. All right. I will write. I will write now." Guo Jianchao didn't doubt Bao Sanli's words at all. They were the underworld. What couldn't the underworld do? In addition to what he saw on TV and newspapers, the person in front of him was simply a murderous demon. "Ah, Shui, go and find him a pen and paper. You write what I say." Bao Sanli ordered one of the underlings. The underling named Ah Shui immediately found the money and handed it to Guo Jianchao. Guo Jianchao picked up the pen with his trembling hand. After a long time, he finally found the feeling. Bao Sanli coughed twice and took out his cell phone from his pocket. He looked at the screen of the cell phone and said, "Letter of guarantee. I drank too much today and tried to rape the waitress of the nightless club, Wang Xiaojiao. I didn't rape her." Guo Jianchao quickly explained. One must know that attempted rape and molestation were 2 different concepts. If Bao Sanli called the police or threatened him afterwards, there would be no end of trouble. "Do you want to die?" Qi Wenrui was already impatient. He walked over and punched Guo Jianchao's body. "Just write what I ask you to write. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Brother Bao, I think we should just kill this kid and throw him into the sea to feed the sharks. Why are you talking nonsense with him? Bao solemnly waved his hand and said, You said you didn't rape her. The surveillance video captured it clearly. What was your hand doing there? Gui Jianchao was stunned. He didn't expect there to be a surveillance video. Then his previous behavior was a bit like rape. This kind of thing couldn't be explained. Plus, when he heard Qi Wenrui say he was going to kill him, he was immediately scared and had cold sweat. He quickly said, all right. I don't want to die. Then hurry up and write. I drank too much today and attempted to rape the waitress of the nightless club, Wang Xiaojiao. As a result, I was caught by the security guards of the nightless club. Guarantee Gui Jianchao. Bao solemnly finished reading the text message sent by Yang Ming in his hand. He finally breathed a sigh of relief. Brother Yang is so cultured. He could make up such a long guarantee in such a short time. Yang Ming didn't make it up. He called Zhang Bin and asked him to search for a format example on the internet. He sent it to his mobile phone using QQ. Then, Yang Ming edited a few places and sent it to Bao Sonli. I've finished writing. Gui Jianchao said after he signed. Press your fingerprint again. Prepare a stamp for him. Bao Sonli said. Therefore, Gui Jianchao pressed his fingerprint again. The guarantee was passed to Bao Sonli. Bao Sonli simply looked at it and found that there were no mistakes. He folded it and put it in his pocket. He nodded and said, You are quite obedient. Then, this beating will be waived first. Waived first. Gui Jianchao was stunned. Then, you mean you can beat me up any time in the future? But Gui Jianchao didn't dare to ask more. He had to get through this first. Brother Bao, can I go now? Go? Are you stupid? You want to go now? Bao solemnly widened his eyes as if he heard the funniest joke. Aw. Didn't I write a guarantee? Gui Jianchao asked. A guarantee is a guarantee. You raped my girl. We have to calculate this carefully. As Bao solemnly said this, he gave Qi Wenrui a look to let him not be anxious. I didn't rape. Ah. Gui Jianchao just finished speaking, and his butt was kicked. He was scared and quickly shut up. Logically, our ancestors have an old saying called an eye for an eye. Do you think I should find someone to rape you? Bao Sonli shook his head and said. Ah. Gui Jianchao was stunned. Find someone to rape me. Is there such a good thing? A man raping a woman is considered rape, but a woman raping a man. No matter what, Gui Jianchao felt good about it, right? So, he quickly nodded and said, Okay, I will listen to Brother Bao. Hee, don't be happy too early. You are a man. You want to rape my girl. What do you think I should do? Bao solemnly asked. Of course, find a woman to rape me. Gui Jianchao said quickly. Chapter 164. Find a woman. A man raped my girl. Of course, I have to find a man to rape back. You are a general manager. Why is your logical thinking so bad? Bao solemnly scolded. Ah. Gui Jianchao was stunned. Listening to Brother Bao, you want a man to rape me? Hee. Bao solemnly smiled sinisterly. Shui, call Poison Dragon in. After Shui received the order, he immediately ran out. After a while, a man who looked like a transvestite came in. Yeah, Brother Bao, you are looking for me. Get lost. Bao solemnly waved his hand and dodged the hand of Poison Dragon who was about to put on his shoulder. Then he pointed to Gui Jianchao on the ground and said, "He is yours. Serve him well." "Yeah, this gigolo is quite handsome." Poison Dragon looked at the prey on the ground with joy. Then he stroked Gui Jianchao's face and said lovingly, "Come, let Brother Poison Dragon serve you." "You, who are you? Stay away from me. Don't touch me." Gui Jianchao felt a chill. He wasn't gay and didn't have any special hobbies. Don't be shy. Brother Bao, he is not obedient." "What should I do?" Poison Dragon asked. "Give him the medicine we prepared." Bao Sanli waved his hand. An underling came over with a cup. He pinched Gui Jianchao's nose and opened his cheeks. Then he poured all the liquid in the cup into Gui Jianchao's esophagus. After the liquid was poured, Gui Jianchao was taken into the inner lounge of the security room by a few people. There was a bed here. It was originally the place where they slept when they were tired from duty. Now it had become Poison Dragon's temporary office. "Is the surveillance turned on?" Bao Sanli asked worriedly. "Brother Bao, don't worry. The cameras on all 4 feet are turned on. All angles are absolutely clear." An underling operating the surveillance replied. "Okay, use the highest quality compression format. Record it for me later." Bao Sanli ordered. "No problem." The underling nodded. After all this was done, Qi Wenrui asked in confusion, "Brother Bao, what are you singing? What is this guy doing?" "Him. He, an enemy of a buddy." Bao Sanli laughed. "Brothers? Which one?" Qi Wenrui was puzzled. "Look, he's here." Bao Sanli pointed at the door. The door of the security room was pushed open, and Yang Ming came in. "Brother Yang." Qi Wenrui was stunned for a moment before he happily went over to greet him. "Qi Wenrui, you brat, are doing pretty well too." Yang Ming said with a smile. "Brother Yang, you must be joking." "I'm just fooling around, ha." Qi Wenrui laughed and patted Yang Ming's shoulder. "Brother Yang, what's going on? You should know how I entered the detention center, right?" Yang Ming asked. "Isn't it because of a kid named Wang Jitao?" Qi Wenrui said, "Isn't his father the chairman of Songjiang Xiongfeng Group?" "Ah, I remember now. Isn't that Brett the vice president of Xiongfeng Group?" "I see." Bao Sanli nodded as if he understood everything. At this time, there was a sudden scream of, "Ah ah. Ah ah." from the lounge. Yang Ming frowned. "Didn't you drug him?" "It's a normal physiological reaction, right?" Bao Sanli wasn't very good at this. The drug was given to him by Poison Dragon, but Poison Dragon wouldn't dare to lie to him, so he said, "Don't worry, Brother Yang. It won't be a problem." Yang Ming nodded and told Bao Sanli about what happened during this period of time. When he heard that Yang Ming and Yu Xiangda met, Bao Sanli gritted his teeth and said, "This brat, I will cripple him one day." "What happened?" Yang Ming asked curiously. "He hit a black brick behind me and almost broke my head." Bao Sanli scolded, "This brat is too shady." "Ah." Yang Ming was stunned. There are people who play shady in the underworld. "Brother Yang, you don't understand Yu Xiangda. If it were other people looking for an enemy, they would bring people with real knives and guns to fight, but this brat likes to play shady tricks behind people's backs." Qi Wenrui scolded, "This son of a bitch is so mean." Yang Ming shook his head. "No wonder Yu Xiangda didn't do anything to me last time." Yang Ming was still wondering. "No matter how good I am at fighting, I can't win against so many people. Why is Yu Xiangda so afraid of me?" "He is afraid of me playing shady tricks behind his back." After about half an hour, Poison Dragon came out. "Ha, it's so cool." This brat is a virgin. Bao solemnly rolled his eyes. For you, who isn't a virgin. Hurry up and say the main point. How is the brat? Hey, after the drug took effect, this brat was very enthusiastic. Poison Dragon said, "It's so cool." Okay, you don't have to say any more. Yang Ming felt a chill when he heard it. Yo, who is this little brother? He looks so strong. Poison Dragon said as he was going to touch Yang Ming's chest muscles. Fuck you. Yang Ming was shocked and jumped 3 feet high. Stay away from me. Poison Dragon, if you want to die, continue to provoke him. Bao solemnly smiled and said, this brat can beat you into a meat patty with one punch. I'm just kidding, hee hee. Poison Dragon also saw the importance of Yang Ming and didn't dare to joke anymore. Okay, you can't tell from the video that he was forced, right? Asked Yang Ming. Don't worry, brother Yang. You definitely can't tell. He was particularly proactive. When the drug took effect, he was very lascivious. Poison Dragon said. Okay, thank you. Yang Ming nodded to him. Brother Yang, what are you talking about? I'm the one who feels good. Poison Dragon laughed. Bao solemnly waved his hand and let Poison Dragon go out first. Then he walked into the lounge and saw Guo Jianchao lying on the ground like a dog. He kicked his butt and said, how was it? Did you feel good? Ouch. No. Guo Jianchao's butt was in great pain. He wanted to say no, but he quickly stopped. He was afraid of being kicked again. His butt was quite fragile now. Good, very good, good, right? Then do it again. Bao solemnly asked with a glare. No, no, don't. Guo Jianchao quickly refused. Is that right? Don't do to others what you don't want done to yourself. Think about it. If you raped my girl, she would be very unhappy. Bao solemnly sneered. Yes, yes, I got it. I won't dare to do it again next time. Guo Jianchao nodded quickly, but he thought in his heart, can a man and a woman be the same? But he didn't dare to say this. Okay, the good is over. Let's talk about business. How about you raping my girl? Bao solemnly asked. Aw. Still. Wasn't it just now? Guo Jianchao was shocked. It turned out that this matter wasn't over yet. Nonsense, of course, it's not over yet. How can there be such a good thing? Bao solemnly sneered, which hand did you use to touch Xiao Jiao? My left hand. Guo Jianchao said with trepidation. Bao solemnly snorted. I touched it with my right hand. Guo Jianchao quickly changed his words. Right hand. Bao solemnly asked. I touched it with both hands. Guo Jianchao didn't dare to hide anything. After all, this kind of thing could be known as long as he asked Xiao Jiao. Hee hee, since you admitted it, then leave your left and right hand. Bao solemnly smiled and said, I'll leave your dog life for now. It's a good thing for you. Aw. It can't be. Brother Bao, my hand is still useful. How can I work if you cut it off? Guo Jianchao said with a sad face. Fuck. Which is more important, your hand or your life? You choose yourself. Do you want your hand or your life? Bao solemnly didn't care about that. Of course, I want both. Guo Jianchao whispered. Motherfucker, why are you so hesitant? Okay, someone come and knock him out. Put him in a sack and throw him into the sea to feed the fish. Bao solemnly said to the underling behind him. Yes, brother Bao. The underling said as he came over to do it. Don't. I want my life. I want my life. I don't want my hand. Gui Jianchao knew that he had to give up one thing, or else he would lose everything. You should have said so earlier. But it's too late now. I changed my mind. Feed him to the fish. Bao Sanli sneered. No. No. You cut off my hand. I beg you, Brother Bao. I don't want to die. Gui Jianchao was so scared that his snot and tears were flowing. He almost peed in his pants. Dang dang dang. There was a knock on the door. What's the matter? Bao Sanli shouted at the door. Brother Bao, a friend of yours came to see you. Do you want to let him in? The underling who knocked on the door said. Friend? Who is it? Bao Sanli asked. It's Yang Ming, Brother Yang. The underling at the door said, You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.